1081. How can I change my oath so easily? Back then, I was a homeless orphan, barely clothed and always hungry. Every day, I struggled between life and death, living in constant fear. Fortunately, I joined the preaching order, which changed my destiny and allowed me to truly understand the meaning of life. The voice of Preacher Feng echoed in the circular hall, his face full of reminiscence. Next, Feng vividly described the tragic battles with the 10 immortal sects and the careful dormancy during the Great Tribulation. He even spoke of the excitement when Celestial Preacher reappeared after thousands of years and rebuilt the myriad Immortals alliance on the desolate land of cultivation. His words seemed to bring all the preachers present back to that turbulent era. Finally, Preacher Feng said decisively, I, Feng Rui, will forever be loyal to Celestial Preacher and forever maintain my loyalty to the myriad Immortals alliance. For all eternity, I will never have a second thought. Just like back then, Feng did not play any ambiguous word games, but spoke directly. In the sky above the circular hall, countless phantoms of martyrs emitted a faint glow, shining on Feng Rui. Feng Rui held his head high and proudly accepted the scrutiny of everyone present, as if it were a supreme honor. All the preachers present, including Zhang, felt a strange emotion in their hearts. They knew that Feng Rui had already passed the test of the preacher's oath. Zhou, Wei, and Huang glanced almost imperceptibly at Li Fan, who had a solemn expression. Feng Rui returned from the center of the hall, and the preachers applauded thunderously to show their respect and congratulations. Next, the other preachers who were detected to have practiced profound heaven sect techniques came to the stage to speak in turn. Without exception, they all perfectly passed the review of the preacher's oath. Fellow Taoist, what is going on? Could it be that you have been fabricating lies to deceive us from the beginning? Wei's face was a little unsightly, and he questioned loudly in front of all the preachers. This sentence seemed to be the anger of being deceived, but it was actually a shift of the contradiction and a clear demarcation of the line. Immortal puppet Li Fan's expression remained unchanged. The situation in the circular hall at this moment was indeed somewhat unexpected and beyond his ability to handle. He was waiting for instructions from the main body. Li Fan, who was remotely commanding from the spirit wood world, thought for a while and ultimately did not take out the scene of Mo Rubin's possession of Feng Rui, which was recorded by the formation at that time. Because the other party could directly use the sentence, the recorded picture is fake, to turn the tables on him. After all, now that Feng Rui has passed the test of the preacher's oath, he has been legally verified as a preacher. This Feng Rui is actually truly loyal to preaching from the bottom of his heart. There are two possibilities for this situation. Either, Celestial Preacher is actually Profound Heaven King. The Myriad Immortals Alliance and the former Profound Heaven sect are two sides of the same coin. Naturally, Mo Rubin can openly say all this. Or, Mo Rubin has already left Preacher Feng's body. The current Feng Rui is indeed a true preacher. What is the truth? Li Fan's main body was thinking rapidly. Scenes of past interactions with Mo Rubin reappeared before his eyes. Although it was all acting, the true meaning of some words was still difficult to conceal or change. Li Fan immediately made a decision. If I guess wrong, it's just wasting an immortal puppet. Without any psychological burden, Li Fan immediately issued instructions. In the circular hall, immortal puppet Li Fan, facing the questioning gazes of all the preachers, did not offer an explanation. Instead, he looked directly at Preacher Zhang. I have something to say, alone. These words immediately aroused dissatisfaction among some of those present. Everyone is brothers, what is there that can only be said to Preacher Zhang? There was a commotion in the hall. However, looking at Li Fan's sincere eyes, Zhang thought for a while and still nodded in agreement to his condition. Zhang waved his hand gently, and a circular compartment appeared in the center of the circular hall. The phantoms of the heroes appeared outside the compartment, blocking the line of sight from outside. Li Fan's body flew into it uncontrollably. If you have something to say, you can say it now. Only I can hear it here, Preacher Zhang said lightly. How much do you know about Feng Rui and the other four? Li Fan asked with a smile. Every move of all the preachers within the Myriad Immortals Alliance cannot escape my eyes. Everything they do, any resources of the Immortal Alliance they use, are under my control. It's just that I turn a blind eye to it. They actually know this in their hearts. Li Fan then asked again. Then, in your opinion, how many of the 27 people present today, besides you, can pass the preacher's oath? Feng Rui and the other four actually passed the oath test so perfectly, don't you find it strange? Preacher Zhang was immediately silent. He had seen all the words and deeds of the preachers over the years. Naturally, he knew that they were indeed somewhat too reckless and presumptuous. However, it did not affect the overall stability of the Immortal Alliance. Moreover, they were former comrades who had crawled out of the pile of dead people together. So he turned a blind eye to it. But to say that after so many years, these people have always remained true to their original intentions. He didn't believe it. Perhaps there were, but only a few. After Feng Rui and the other four were so righteous and perfectly passed the great oath, Preacher Zhang knew that something was already wrong. However, being pointed out in person by an outsider at this moment, he still felt a slight sigh. After pondering for a moment, Preacher Zhang responded, "No matter what, they completed the oath verification in public. It shows that they still have the qualifications to sit in the position of preacher. Except for celestial preacher, no one can deprive them of their power. As for those who are playing tricks behind the scenes, I will personally take action and find them out." Li Fan immediately nodded. "I can assist you." Preacher Zhang remained noncommittal. The circular compartment disappeared, but only Zhang was once again placed in the center of the hall. Feng Rui and the others have been cleared of suspicion, they are still the most loyal preachers of the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Just like you. As for the bandit who slandered and fabricated rumors, I have already erased him." Zhang shouted, finalizing the tone of the incident. A group of preachers also responded with applause. After saying some official platitudes, Zhang announced the end of the conference. A group of preachers left one after another. However, Feng Rui and the other four were left behind by Preacher Yang's voice transmission, saying that there were still some details that needed to be asked. Feng Rui and the other four naturally knew everything and said everything without reservation. After learning the details of the past period of time from the other party's mouth, Preacher Zhang nodded slightly and let them leave. At this time, only he was left in the circular conference hall. At this time, Li Fan's figure slowly appeared. 1082. The great heavenly master Xuanwang. If I'm not mistaken, Feng Rui and the others were indeed possessed before. But this possession technique is quite peculiar. It can actually return the body. The lot transmitter Zhang said with a frown. Li Fan also pondered, however, where there is existence, there must be traces. After all, this period of possession has had irreversible effects on their souls and bodies. Some of the soul characteristics of that Zantian sect Dharma King still remain on them. The lot transmitter Zhang narrowed his eyes. That Dharma King is called Mo Ruben. He is truly a remarkable and admirable figure. Li Fan simply nodded, without much further comment. They still retain the memories of being possessed. But from their perspective, these things were done together with Mo Ruben after discussing them. As for Mo Ruben's current whereabouts, as early as a year ago, he bid farewell and disappeared. To express his gratitude for the time spent together, he even left behind some of the Zantian sect's former techniques as a reward. The lot transmitter Zhang continued to explain. I'm afraid it's still a means of distracting us. But it has indeed worked, at least I've wasted so much time again. Li Fan said somewhat self-deprecatingly. However, where exactly did he go? Is the Tianzan mirror of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance still the original immortal artifact? I will investigate this. The lot transmitter Zhang said with a solemn expression. As for your body, we still need to give them some explanation. The lot transmitter Yang's dark pupils instantly locked onto the immortal puppet Li Fan. As if being pulled into a void world, the immortal puppet Li Fan's body was slowly engulfed by the void. In a moment, it completely disappeared from the world. In the spirit wood realm, sensing the last image transmitted from the immortal puppet's body, Li Fan shook his head slightly. He wasn't surprised that the lot transmitter Zhang suddenly took action. After all, the accusation, or rather the slander, of the lot transmitter's failure is definitely an unforgivable crime. Someone must take responsibility for it, even if it's just on the surface. Before destroying his immortal puppet body, the lot transmitter Zhang had transmitted a message to him, telling him that the investigation into Zantian King Mo Ruben had gone underground. Any discoveries should still be contacted through lot transmitter Zhou. Zhang is probably the only reliable one in the lot transmitter group. If I want to know Mo Ruben's whereabouts, I still have to wait for his investigation results. Having been led by the nose by Mo Ruben several times, Li Fan couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. What worried him even more was that Mo Ruben had been missing for nearly a year. During his time in control of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, he must have used the Tianzan mirror's vast computing power for matters related to the whereabouts of the Zantian king. He hasn't reappeared for so long. Could it be that he has already found the missing Zantian king? Or, he didn't go looking for any Zantian king at all. Instead, he used the means left by the former Zantian sect to escape this dark star sea. In a long absence of mental turmoil, Li Fan finally waited for the lot transmitter Yang's investigation results. In the lot transmitter Zhou's private small world, it was still the newly made immortal puppet body that came forward. The Tianzan mirror is still the same Tianzan mirror. But calling too much computing power has actually damaged the mirror's origin. It is possible that many functions of the Tianzan mirror will have to be suspended for a long time to come. It chose to remain silent about Mo Rubin's whereabouts. However, Zhang visited the mirror holder and the illusion truth sage lineage, gathered the power of the three authorities, and forcibly retrieved the previous deduction records from the Tianzan mirror. Finally, I found the possible destination of that Zantian sect Dharma king. The lot transmitter Zhou's tone was unusually solemn. Li Fan looked serious, waiting for the following. The result that even an immortal artifact had to damage its origin to deduce was obviously no small matter. After a pause, the lot transmitter Zhou lowered his voice and slowly explained. Do you know that corresponding to the Zanhuang realm entity, there is also a virtual world in the world? Zhou asked a seemingly irrelevant question first. Li Fan's heart skipped a beat, nodding, I know this. Your 10,000 Immortals Alliance cultivators call it the Fallen Immortal Realm. That's right, Fallen Immortal. When this immortal fell, he took one last look at the Zanhuang realm. So everything in the world, from mountains, rivers, and seas to ants and insects, are completely reflected in this virtual world. What kind of supernatural power is this? The lot transmitter Zhou said with emotion, his tone full of longing. Then, have you ever wondered who this immortal with unimaginable supernatural powers is? And why did he fall? I was indeed full of curiosity. Could it be that you know? Li Fan asked. Actually, I didn't know before. But according to the Tianzan mirror's deduction results, perhaps we can guess a thing or two. Zhou said frankly. Do you still remember the method to enter the fallen immortal realm? Method. Li Fan immediately recalled that rather strange ritual. 4 things are needed. A piece of ordinary linen clothing. A full ear of rice. A small and exquisite house model. A lifelike miniature donkey cart. The 4 things are placed in the 4 corners of the space respectively. Then, the first step needs to be taken, facing the direction of the linen clothing, and softly reciting. Blessing life profound yellow immortal venerable. The second step requires turning to the full ear of rice and sincerely reciting. Blessing life profound yellow heavenly lord. The third step requires looking at the exquisite house, holding your breath and whispering. Blessing life profound yellow god. The fourth step requires looking at the cart full of goods. Finally, silently recite. Blessing life profound yellow heavenly venerable. Actually, the answer is often on the face of the riddle. Zhou's expression was solemn, this fallen immortal is the Zanhuang heavenly venerable. Linen clothing, rice ears, houses, donkey carts. Corresponding to clothing, food, housing, and transportation, the 4 basic contents that humans cannot lack to maintain survival. This is exactly the duty of the Zanhuang heavenly venerable. Zanhuang heavenly venerable. Li Fan's heart was shaken. Zanhuang, corresponding to the Zanhuang realm. Heavenly venerable. Refers to the longevity heavenly venerable. But I don't understand this when put together. Can a powerhouse in the longevity realm have such immortal-like power? Li Fan frowned, very puzzled. Ordinary powerhouses in the longevity realm, of course, cannot do such seemingly incredible things. But the Zanhuang heavenly venerable can definitely do it. Zhou explained to Li Fan. Zanhuang heavenly venerable, not specifically referring to a certain person, but a kind of title. Imagine, if a world has cultivators who can achieve unity with the world's heavenly Tao in body and mind. The point where my heart is the heart of heaven, my will is the will of heaven, naturally everything in the world cannot escape his eyes. The Zanhuang great heavenly venerable is such a person. With Zhou's explanation, Li Fan immediately thought of himself in relation to the spirit wood realm. 1083. The world's strange creation. Li Fan himself was only at the nascent soul realm. However, from the very beginning of the spirit wood world's development and upgrade, he had been constantly using open black lens bracket array refinement close black lens bracket to deepen his control over this small world. Now, after accepting and integrating other small worlds like the Empire, the Spirit Wood world is not much smaller than the average open black lens bracket cultivation world close black lens bracket in ancient times. And Li Fan, this nascent soul cultivator, still firmly maintains control over the Spirit Wood world. To him, it is like a refined magical treasure, the world's birth and death are but a thought away. To some extent, with this ability to absolutely control the world, he is, in fact, a true open black lens bracket Spirit Wood celestial venerable close black lens bracket. With this comparison, one can better understand what kind of existence the open black lens bracket profound yellow great celestial venerable close black lens bracket truly is. It's just that Li Fan took a shortcut, gaining control when the world was still weak. But the profound yellow great celestial venerable, his will is one with heavens. Li Fan instantly thought of Mr. Bai. The scene of the heavenly sword sect forging swords in the fallen immortal realm. When Mr. Bai revealed his true strength in the heavenly sword sect, the eldest disciple of the heavenly sword sect once exclaimed in shock, "You are." And then his attitude was very respectful. He no longer harbored any hostility towards Mr. Bai. Situ Yao, as the strongest in the heavenly sword sect and also an eternal realm cultivator, could be so respectful. Besides strength, status must also be a more important factor. Moreover, the several scenes Li Fan experienced in the fallen immortal realm were almost all subtly related to Mr. Bai. It was as if there was some kind of guidance or direction. Which is why he doesn't dare to explore the fallen immortal realm much now. If anyone were to say that Mr. Bai has nothing to do with that fallen immortal, Li Fan would be the first to disbelieve it. While Li Fan was pondering, the law transmitter Zhou continued to explain. The profound yellow celestial venerable is different from ordinary eternal celestial venerables. There can be many ancient law eternal lives. But there can only ever be one profound yellow celestial venerable in the world. Ancient law eternal life steals the power over the eternal objects of heaven and earth. The profound yellow celestial venerable has all the power of the heavenly Tao vested in him. The difference is immeasurable. In fact, the information recorded by the Immortal Alliance before vaguely mentioned that the operation of the profound yellow world's heavenly Tao has traces of open black lens bracket anthropomorphism close black lens bracket. For example, the souls of heaven and earth are all in human form. For example, the heavenly Tao also shows emotions such as joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. This can be seen from the visions after the fall of cultivators. This is actually the influence of the open black lens bracket profound yellow great celestial venerable close black lens bracket on the operation of the profound yellow world's heavenly Tao. Even if the profound yellow celestial venerable is no longer present, this influence continues. Hearing this, Li Fan instantly thought of heavenly Tao Bai, whom he had revived by chance. And the divine power he recently comprehended, false edict of the heavenly Tao. The heart of heaven, the will of man. The principles of heaven and man. Li Fan was lost in thought. But his thoughts were quickly interrupted by Zhou's next words. You must know that in ordinary cultivation worlds, this kind of situation where open black lens bracket man controls heaven close black lens bracket will not happen. At most, cultivators will gain control of some heavenly Tao authority after being blessed by heaven. The profound yellow world is very special. And from the results of this heavenly profound mirror's deduction, this special heavenly Tao operation mode may originate from the first profound yellow celestial venerable. He made some modifications to the profound yellow world. It is even possible that the entire profound yellow world was created by this profound yellow celestial venerable. Li Fan was stunned when he heard this. He originally thought that the first profound yellow celestial venerable that Lot Transmitter Zhou was talking about might be profound heaven king. But possibly creating the entire profound yellow world. This is clearly not something profound heaven king could do. Li Fan immediately asked, creating profound yellow. What does that mean? The entire profound yellow world is like a perfect creation. Although it has annexed other worlds over thousands of years, its core is still the original profound yellow world from many years ago. The reason why the heavenly profound mirror was damaged to its origin is because it wanted to deduce the location of the open black lens bracket heart of profound yellow close black lens bracket that dominates the entire world. There may be a way to inherit the function of open black lens bracket profound yellow celestial venerable close black lens bracket. Lot Transmitter Zhou whispered. This is something that even the former Lot Transmitter celestial venerable could not do. If this profound heaven sect Dharma king does it, the consequences would be unimaginable. Li Fan sorted out his thoughts. From the clues currently available, the profound yellow world may possibly be a creation of a great power in the past. This great power did not take the profound yellow world away after ascending. He only left behind a method called open black lens bracket profound yellow celestial venerable close black lens bracket, which can completely control the profound yellow heavenly Tao to some extent. Profound Heaven King, Mr. Bai. They should all have been profound yellow celestial venerables. From this point of view, if you want to become a great celestial venerable who controls a world, you must meet certain conditions and pass the screening of the heavenly Tao. After Mr. Bai fell, the position of profound yellow celestial venerable has been vacant. However, the profound yellow heavenly Tao still maintains the operation of the world according to the methods of dealing with the world left by the former profound yellow celestial venerable. For example, Li Fan once used the open black lens bracket heaven devouring earth eating great art close black lens bracket to devour the earth veins and madly improve his cultivation. As a result, he broke the bottleneck of the calamity of heaven, but was suppressed by the profound yellow heavenly palm. This is a sign that the heavenly Tao is operating on its own according to existing rules. And now, Mo Rubin is using the powerful calculation power of the heavenly profound mirror to analyze the entire profound yellow world. Trying to find the so-called open black lens bracket heart of profound yellow close black lens bracket and become the next open black lens bracket profound yellow celestial venerable close black lens bracket. After becoming the profound yellow celestial venerable, you may be able to inherit the memories of the previous celestial venerables. And then you can figure out what happened to profound Heaven King back then. At this point, Li Fan had already understood the motive behind Mo Rubin's elaborate plan. So, where exactly is that so-called heart of profound yellow? Li Fan immediately asked. La Transmitter Joe pointed his finger at the sky. Then he pointed around. It's here, or rather, it's everywhere. As long as certain specific conditions are met, one should be able to enter the heart of profound yellow and participate in some kind of test process. If you can pass smoothly, you can transform into the profound yellow celestial venerable after you come out, La Transmitter Joe shrugged. Li Fan keenly noticed a key question and asked, after the law transmitter celestial venerable created the new law, achieving eternal life requires reversing the principles of heaven and earth. Then this profound yellow celestial venerable. A trace of haze flashed in law transmitter Joe's eyes. This is what we are most worried about. Theoretically speaking, because of the influence of the celestial venerable's new law, the process of inheriting the profound yellow celestial venerable will fail. But it cannot be ruled out that promotion to profound yellow celestial venerable can directly bypass the rules set by celestial venerable himself. After all, ordinary eternal realm cultivators reverse and occupy a principle of heaven and earth. But the profound yellow celestial venerable takes a step to the sky and directly possesses control over all the principles of heaven and earth. 1084. Finally solved the mystery of the fallen immortal. Since the celestial venerable created the new method, no new Xuanwang celestial venerable has been born. So what exactly will happen? Nobody knows, Preacher Joe said with a solemn expression. Li Fan did not answer. In his mind, Bai Shansheng's words, ahead lies a path to immortality that cannot be tread, with the preaching celestial venerable above, resurfaced. If his guess was correct, the reason why Bai Shansheng, as a mortal, ascended to the heavens in one step was because he attained the Xuanwang celestial venerable. However, he reversed the principle that mortals cannot kill immortals, at the cost of his own life, creating the immortal mortal miasma. This indirectly shows that even the Xuanwang celestial venerable doesn't have a great solution to those reversed principles of heaven and earth. If we regard the Xuanwang realm as some kind of exquisite creation, the Xuanwang celestial venerable originally possessed all the permissions for this creation. But because preaching found a flaw in the existence of this creation, reversing the principles of heaven and earth, he created a new permission out of thin air. Moreover, it is constantly eroding the existing permissions of the Xuanwang realm, which almost led to the situation where the Xuanwang realm is changing hands. It's still the analogy of comparing the Xuanwang realm to a prison house. The being who originally created the Xuanwang realm left a central control room in the prison. Xuanwang Celestial Venerable is the code name for someone who can enter the central control room. Inside the central control room, one can have a clear understanding of everything in the Xuanwang realm. Even creating celestial wonders representing certain laws with bare hands is easy. However, one day a highly skilled uninvited guest suddenly came to the prison. He actually cut off the central control room's control over a certain part of the prison through some means, and then took control for himself. Moreover, he developed a large number of believers in the prison. He is reforming the prison by directly changing the walls, gradually eroding it. The central control room naturally lost control over the reformed and newly built parts. From the looks of it, the power of the current Xuanwang Celestial Venerable is also far from what it used to be. At the very least, he may not be a match for preaching. However, Li Fan's eyes flickered. He was clear about his own situation and should not be able to meet the conditions to become the Xuanwang Celestial Venerable. However, he could find someone who meets the conditions, like Zhan Tianwang and Bai Shansheng, who are extremely sincere and kind. After the other party becomes the contemporary Xuanwang Celestial Venerable, he would then push them to fight preaching. To test the preaching Celestial Venerable's bottom line. While thinking this, Li Fan frowned and asked, "So the situation is so urgent, shouldn't we be doing something now? If Mo Reuben really becomes the Xuanwang Celestial Venerable, then things will be difficult to handle." Preacher Zhou also showed a helpless expression. "It's not that we don't want to do anything, but there's really no good way. Many of us have tried, but we can't even pass the first level to become the Xuanwang Celestial Venerable. Of course, if you are interested, you can try it yourself." Li Fan narrowed his eyes. "Oh, it's still the ritual to enter the fallen immortal realm. Just perform it in reverse," Preacher Zhou said. Li Fan was a little surprised. "Okay, I'll give it a try." All the latest news about Mo Reuben had been gathered, so Immortal Puppet Li Fan took his leave. In the secret room of the Spirit Wood realm, Li Fan took out the 4 essential items and placed them in the surrounding corners. Then he took 4 steps backward, chanting words. Preacher Zhou said that the Immortal Alliance had sent nearly 10,000 cultivators to try one after another, but none of them succeeded. Originally, Li Fan didn't have much hope for himself. But what he didn't expect was that after completing the reversal ritual, a familiar sense of dizziness instantly struck. "I actually succeeded." Li Fan was greatly surprised. He only had time to think of this thought in his mind before slowly losing consciousness as his eyes went dark. Junior brother," a somewhat familiar voice came. "What are you thinking about? Why have you been in a daze for so long?" Li Fan slowly regained his senses and looked around. What he saw made him a little stunned. A young cultivator wearing a purple and white Taoist robe, with a purple lightning mark engraved between his eyebrows, was looking at him. This scene, he was all too familiar with it. Wasn't it that Ning Yuan takes longevity fruit that he encountered every time he entered the fallen immortal realm? Am I back in the fallen immortal realm again? No difference. No, that's not right. Li Fan instantly understood. This is the test to become the Xuanwang Great Celestial Venerable. It's exactly the same as what I encountered when I entered the ordinary fallen immortal realm. What exactly is going on? Even with Li Fan's current composure, he was still shaken and filled with disbelief after encountering this somewhat bizarre event. If the test to become the Xuanwang Great Celestial Venerable was a once-in-a-lifetime, significant exam, then the content of this exam was exactly the same as the mock papers he usually did. How could this shocking discovery not make him feel shocked? From the first time he entered the fallen immortal realm, Li Fan knew that his experience was different from all other cultivators. But he didn't know why this strange phenomenon occurred. But now, Li Fan had a vague answer in his heart. Xuanwang Great Celestial Venerable. Xuanwang Cleansing Heart Mantra, Xuanwang Refining Heart Mantra, Xuanwang Immortal Heart Mantra. The Xuanwang Cleansing Heart Mantra is a method circulated among the people to clear the immortal mortal miasma from mortals' bodies. And the immortal mortal miasma was left behind by Bai Shansheng when he reversed the principles of heaven and earth. Li Fan's thoughts raced, and Bai Shansheng's smiling face with kind eyes suddenly appeared before him. That's right, Bai Shansheng is compassionate after all. Although he reversed the principles of heaven and earth and created the immortal mortal miasma. From a larger perspective, it was to protect more mortals from being slaughtered by immortal cultivators in the future. It may even be a part of some savior plan. But after all, it also cut off the path for mortals who want to cultivate immortality. So while creating the immortal mortal miasma, he also left a solution for people. If one is determined to seek immortality, it is not impossible. Even, like me, someone with extremely firm will. Li Fan frowned. Someone like me, whose heart for seeking the Tao is so sincere that it leads to ignoring everything else. In Bai Shansheng's eyes, I'm afraid I'm by no means a good person. So, Li Fan thought of the reverse refining Tao heart required to temper the immortal heart mantra. He also thought of the various scenes he encountered in the fallen immortal realm after cultivating the Xuanwang refining heart mantra. It was more like some kind of guidance. Ning Yuan takes longevity fruit. To achieve the perfect condition, one must find a way to save all the mortals in the city. And the second act, the change of the beast-controlling sect, and the third act, the heavenly sword sect's sword refining. To achieve perfection, I'm afraid they must all conform to the way that Xuanwang Great Celestial Venerable acts, guiding me towards goodness, or, even if I can't, making my actions seem good through reverse refining Dao heart. Li Fan narrowed his eyes and instantly connected everything together. 1085. Suddenly returned to the dreamland. Junior brother. Why have you been spacing out for so long? Could it be that you're thinking about all the fun places I told you about earlier? Don't worry, once we've taken care of business, senior brother will take you to experience the Red Dust Quarter and the Drunken Immortal Tavern. Zhang Qinmo's voice startled Li Fan from his thoughts. Protecting the mortals of Ningyuan City from disaster. Looking at the somewhat frivolous Zhang Qinmo before him, Li Fan's heart stirred. Li Fan wasn't actually very interested in becoming the Xuanwang Great Celestial Venerable. Not to mention that under the current new law system, the power of the Xuanwang Celestial Venerable is much reduced compared to its peak. It's simply impossible to suppress an entire realm alone. After becoming the Xuanwang Celestial Venerable, he would inevitably have to face the two major ruling institutions of the Xuanwang realm. Perhaps even the law transmitter would personally come forward. Although he wasn't particularly afraid, it would be unwise to rashly confront the law transmitter before figuring out his true strength. Furthermore, even if he could really become a Xuanwang Great Celestial Venerable who could suppress an entire realm at its peak, so what? Power is bound to come with responsibility. Becoming the Xuanwang Celestial Venerable would mean being trapped, even more deeply bound to the Xuanwang realm than ordinary eternal life Celestial Venerables, making it even harder to escape. Li Fan's goal wasn't just the eternal life realm. What he craved was to leave this dark star sea, sealed off by high walls, and thus gain true transcendence and freedom. However, having lofty ideals doesn't prevent him from first verifying whether the trial of this heart of Xuanwang is really as he guessed. Having experienced the Ningyuan fruit acquisition scenario too many times, and now with a clear goal, Li Fan quickly came up with a plan. Senior brother, I just vaguely felt like I had a dream, he said slowly, pretending to look a little dazed. What? Zhang Qinmo was taken aback. Senior brother, have you secretly cultivated a purple golden core? Li Fan didn't answer directly, but asked again. As soon as he said this, Zhang Qinmo's eyes instantly turned sharp. How do you know? A dangerous aura instantly emerged from his body, faintly locking onto Li Fan. Li Fan seemed to be completely unaware of this, and only looked shocked. What I saw in my dream is actually true. Zhang Qinmo's expression became stern. I wonder, senior brother, do you still remember the person Chu Liang? Li Fan immediately told him everything he saw in his dream, about how they were about to be besieged by villains in Ningyuan City. Now that you mention it, I do remember such a person back then. He actually joined some 10,000 Immortals Alliance and wanted to plot against my Purple Firmament sect's secret techniques. A trace of purple light flashed in Zhang Qinmo's eyes, his killing intent awe-inspiring. As he spoke, he was about to fly into the city to ferret out and kill all the vermin hidden in the dark. Senior brother, wait, Li Fan quickly stopped Zhang Qinmo. After all, this is just a scene I encountered in my dream, and there is no substantial evidence. If it's all just a fabrication, then wouldn't it be? Zhang Qinmo said coldly. So what if I kill them? Could it be that someone would dare to punish us for such a trivial matter? Li Fan said with a wry smile. We finally came down the mountain by taking advantage of the mission to collect longevity fruits. If we cause a disturbance, the master might not allow us to come down the mountain in the future. It's better to be cautious. Upon hearing this, Zhang Qinmo's killing intent subsided slightly. Why don't we transmit a message outside the city first and call out Steward Songhe of the Song family? Capture him directly. If he resists and really displays a realm of cultivation that he shouldn't be able to reach. Li Fan paused. Then it means that there is no problem with the scene I foresaw in my dream. With this evidence, we can also explain it to the sect. Zhang Qinmo thought for a while and nodded slightly. Junior brother is thoughtful, let's do that. So the two quietly approached Ningyuan City and sent a message from afar. After a long while, Songhe came late. Greetings, two masters. Songhe was bowing and saluting when two bolts of purple firmament divine lightning struck him head-on. When was I exposed? Song He was shocked and angry, and subconsciously activated his spiritual power to block the lightning. Just as he was about to notify the few people lurking in the city to take action in advance, he found that the surrounding space had been blocked, and his heart sank. Although I can only use Li Chen's own strength, my mastery of formations has reached the realm of perfection. Isn't it easy to set up a formation at will to trap a small golden core cultivator? The formation that Li Fan set up at this moment wasn't too shocking. Instead, it was slightly modified based on the purple firmament sect's formations that he had seen in this body's memories. Jiang Qinmo also noticed his junior brother's actions. Good boy, I was wondering what you were doing cooped up in your room every day. So you were studying formations by yourself. Jiang Qinmo's tone was somewhat surprised as he took out his long halberd and fought with Song He. Although Song He was a golden core cultivator, and Jiang Qinmo only had a foundation establishment battle strength without using his purple core. However, with the combined efforts of the senior and junior brothers, and with the assistance of the formation, before long, Song He was captured alive. Jiang Qinmo was extremely decisive and directly used the purple firmament soul-searching technique. After a struggle, Song He slumped on the ground like a puddle of mud. Jiang Qinmo's face showed a fierce look. The scene you foresaw, junior brother, is completely accurate. This damned dog thing. After saying that, he was about to kill Song He with one palm, but Li Fan stopped him. He is, after all, a deacon of the outer sect. Let's take him back and let the sect deal with him. Jiang Qinmo shook his head. Junior brother, you are good in every way. But you are too kind. Fine, I'll do as you say. Li Fan smiled and said nothing. There are still a few bandits from the 10,000 Immortals Alliance in the city. I'll go and capture them. Wait, Li Fan stopped Jiang Qinmo again. What is it again? Jiang Qinmo was a little speechless. Senior brother, what do you think of this 10,000 Immortals Alliance? Li Fan asked in a deep voice. A rabble, not worth fearing. Jiang Qinmo said proudly. Is that really so? Li Fan stared at Jiang Qinmo and asked again. Jiang Qinmo looked at Li Fan's serious expression and hesitated. Then he changed his words. All right. This new law is really strange. Song He, with such a mediocre aptitude, can cultivate from foundation establishment to golden core in just a few years. If we don't handle it carefully, I'm afraid it will cause no small disaster. That's right. That's what I think too. Now, the righteous immortal sects don't seem to pay much attention to this 10,000 Immortals Alliance. Why don't we take this opportunity? Li Fan quietly transmitted his voice. Jiang Qinmo's expression changed. You mean, lure the snake out of its hole? Li Fan nodded. That's right. Let's take this opportunity to gather all the 10,000 Immortals Alliance cultivators near our Purple Firmament sect's territory, and then wipe them out in one fell swoop. 1086. The first act of the plan was solved. Only by seeing with our own eyes the extent of the myriad Immortals Alliance's development can we arouse the attention of the elders in the sect, Li Fan said slowly. If we can eliminate all these villains at once, it would be a great achievement for us. At that time, we won't have to go through so much trouble to enter and leave the mountain gate as we do now. Perhaps it was Li Fan's last sentence that moved Jiang Qinmo. He agreed to Li Fan's plan. Next, Jiang Qinmo controlled Song He to transmit a message to Chu Liang and the others in the city, saying that the situation had changed and Jiang Qinmo, who was originally scheduled to retrieve the longevity fruit, would not be coming. They needed to meet again to discuss the ambush. Although Chu Liang and the others were slightly puzzled, they did not suspect anything. They still came to the outside of the city as agreed. Fellow Taoist Song, what exactly happened? From afar, Chu Liang saw Song He disguised by Jiang Qinmo, and immediately asked. Hee, it's actually good news, Jiang Qinmo replied in Song He's tone. During this trip down the mountain, Jiang Qinmo seems to have accidentally discovered a hidden secret realm. This secret realm is actually a stronghold of the ancient Profound Heaven sect. This matter is of great importance, and he didn't have time to retrieve the longevity fruit. He just hurriedly came to tell me and went back to the mountain to report. Chu Liang suddenly felt a little baffled. Profound Heaven sect? What is that? Humph. Song He pretended to be a little disdainful, but still patiently explained. So, this Profound Heaven sect is in existence even older than the 10 immortal sects. Then, there must be many treasures in this secret realm. Chu Liang and the others immediately became a little excited. The reason they wanted to besiege and kill Jiang Qinmo was partly to take revenge. But the main reason was to force Jiang Qinmo to reveal the various techniques and divine powers of the Purple Cloud sect. Although they had joined the Myriad Immortals Alliance and were granted the most basic, heavenly net divine art, they were only peripheral members after all, and only knew this one technique. When encountering disciples of the 10 immortal sects, they could only barely win by relying on their numbers. In a one-on-one fight, they had no chance of winning at all. Their foundation was too shallow, and they urgently needed to arm themselves. Then what are we waiting for? While the people from the Purple Cloud sect haven't arrived yet, let's take the things in that secret realm first, Chu Liang said impatiently. Song He Song shook his head slightly. The Profound Heaven sect's secret realm has various formations, mechanisms, and restrictions, making it extremely dangerous. Otherwise, Jiang Qinmo wouldn't be in such a hurry to go back to the mountain to ask for reinforcements. With just the few of us, I'm afraid. Chu Liang didn't think so. Then let's call some more brothers. They might not care about a Foundation Establishment sect disciple, but they can't remain indifferent to this Profound Heaven sect's secret realm, right? The others also nodded in agreement. Then we have to hurry. Jiang Qinmo's round trip will probably take more than a day. Don't worry, the brothers' efficiency is not something those decaying sects can compare to, Chu Liang said, patting his chest. Next, Jiang Qinmo, having received a message from Li Fan indicating that he was ready, first led Chu Liang and the others to the so-called entrance of the secret realm. Hiss, fellow Taoist Song, you're right. This secret realm is indeed extremely dangerous. As soon as I got close, my heart started pounding. It's okay, the nearby Immortal Alliance brothers are already rushing here. There are even some Golden Core Realm cultivators among them, and even a nascent Soul Grand cultivator. Chu Liang stared intently at the entrance of the secret realm, his eyes full of greed. It must be said that the initial Myriad Immortals Alliance was indeed highly efficient. Like a pack of wolves smelling blood, they gathered from all directions in less than half a day. 25 golden cores, 160 foundation establishments. Looking at the dark mass of cultivators in front of him, although their clothes were very plain, the surging aura was full of vitality. Jiang Qinmo couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Within the territory of our Purple Cloud sect alone, so many cultivators have emerged silently. Then, how many cultivators in the Myriad Immortals Alliance have developed throughout the world? Fortunately, the sect master of the Purple Cloud sect, after receiving the message, had already led the crowd to subdue the demons here. This made Jiang Qinmo feel a little relieved. After the people of the Myriad Immortals Alliance gathered, they did not rush to enter the secret realm. Instead, they were waiting for a heavyweight figure to arrive. It was said that he was a cultivator who had the honor of being by the side of the immortal Venerable of spreading Dharma from the beginning, and now he was already a transformation god cultivator. With him, there was nothing to fear from any dangerous secret realm. Soon, this transformation god cultivator arrived at the scene. He did not show the arrogance of having a cultivation base several major realms higher than others, and still greeted the cultivators present kindly. Surrounded by the crowd, he came to the entrance of the secret realm. Looking at the formation sealing the secret realm, he frowned slightly. He was not skilled in formations, so in the end, he chose to destroy the formation with the absolute strength of the transformation god stage. He took the lead and stepped into the secret realm. But after a moment, he retreated. Not good, this is a trap. At the same time, he shouted a warning. However, it was already too late. In the sky, the rolling purple energy had already arrived in an instant. Watching the Myriad Immortals Alliance cultivators fighting with the Purple Cloud sect, Li Fan was lost in thought. He had already realized that this Immortal Fall realm scene had begun to become unstable. That later Dharma transmitter was not one of those who survived in later generations. He must have unfortunately sacrificed himself in the battle with the 10 immortal sects. It was just that, under Li Fan's push, the time of his death was brought forward a little. This trick of diverting the disaster shifted the cultivator war that should have broken out in Ningyuan City to an uninhabited place. Although it took some trouble, it was a complete accomplishment of the task. As for these tragically dead cultivators, they should not be within the scope of the profound yellow heavenly venerables test. As Li Fan thought this, the surrounding scenes began to gradually become blurred. Like glass, it shattered inch by inch. Li Fan's consciousness fell into darkness again. He did not immediately enter the next test scene. Instead, scenes flashed through Li Fan's mind like a revolving lantern. That was everything that really happened in Ningyuan City in the history of the profound yellow world. Li Fan already knew it. But this time, there were some different pictures. On the ruins of Ningyuan City, Mr. Bai stood blankly. He looked up at the sky, as if questioning silently. An unusual aura began to appear on him. This is... Li Fan had a vague feeling. At this moment, Mr. Bai seemed to have received the attention of heaven and earth. Although he was still only a mortal in cultivation, he already had the aura of being the center of the world. Is this the destiny of the protagonist? Li Fan sighed inexplicably in his heart. Resurrecting from the darkness again, the scene in front of Li Fan was, as expected, the change of the beast control sect. The scene of the unborn little black in the bird egg. 1087. The Xuanwang Destiny Bird. Taking advantage of being inside the bird egg, Li Fan began to think about how to solve this upheaval of the beast-taming sect. Since the scenes of the fallen immortal realm ultimately test whether the experiencer of the illusion is qualified to serve as the Grand Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate, then when acting, one must put oneself into the role of the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate. Ning Yuan's successful acquisition of the longevity fruit shows that the first scene is a test of benevolence. And this second scene, the relationship between demon beasts and the human race. Or what kind of countermeasures will be taken when the great calamity arrives? The past experiences in the fallen immortal realm flashed through Li Fan's mind one by one. Time passed quietly as Li Fan pondered. Soon, the first ray of light appeared in the dark world. Shu Kei's voice also came instantly. Li Fan skillfully crawled out of the crack, and then ate the broken eggshell clean. Hee hee, little fellow must be starving, Shu Kei laughed foolishly. That's right, I have to quickly activate the beast-taming true art. After a moment, Shu Kei slapped his forehead and reacted. He began to circulate his cultivation technique, preparing to subdue the newly born heavenly fate mysterious bird in front of him. But to Shu Kei's surprise, he actually failed. Boy, you think you can be my master? Hearing the sudden voice transmission, Shu Kei was first stunned, and then vigilantly scanned his surroundings. After not seeing any suspicious people, he looked at Li Fan in disbelief. Don't show any abnormality, listen carefully. Li Fan said solemnly. I am originally the heavenly fate of Xuanwang, and because I sensed that a great calamity is about to descend upon the world, I transformed and descended. To respond to the calamity, Li Fan fabricated a set of words saying that he was the incarnation of the heavenly fate of Xuanwang, in order to save all living beings from fire and water, which made Shu Kei stunned. After recounting Shu Kei's childhood experiences, the young Shu Kei was already deeply convinced. You mean, Mr. Bai is also an incarnation of heavenly fate, a person responding to the calamity? Shu Kei widened his eyes. That's right, Li Fan lazily lay on top of Shu Kei's head. This time's tribulation of heaven and earth will be an unprecedented terror. Even if the heavenly fate of Xuanwang personally descends, there may not be an absolute chance of winning. Therefore, it is divided into two, one in the open, and one in the dark. He took the first step, and calculating the time, I'm afraid he should already be in the longevity realm now. Shu Kei was immediately a little dazed. Qi refining, foundation establishment, golden core. What is the longevity realm? Above the golden core are the four realms of nascent soul, transformation god, Tao integration, and longevity. Li Fan very considerately supplemented his basic knowledge of the world of cultivation. No, impossible, right? Mr. Bai clearly said before that he was immortal. Shu Kei opened his mouth, somewhat disbelieving. HMPH, how can the cultivation speed of the incarnation of heavenly fate be imagined by you mortals? It is easy to instantly transform into a god in one step. However, I am in the dark, but I can't be so conspicuous. Otherwise, it will definitely be noticed that there is something abnormal. Li Fan said with some regret. But even so, my cultivation speed is not something you can compare to. Before he finished speaking, Shu Kei noticed that the aura on Li Fan's body had changed. You actually broke through to the Qi refining stage. He was stunned, and immediately believed the other party's words. Li Fan was too lazy to pay attention to him, and just ordered, go find me something to eat. I'm hungry. Shu Kei trotted straight to the beast-taming sect's mountain forest, while Li Fan continued to cultivate and circulate the heavenly fate of my clan divine power of the Zonbird clan. Having had many cultivation experiences, he was now familiar with the road. Moreover, after refining the spirit wood realm and completely controlling the heavenly Tao of one realm, Li Fan also had his own unique understanding of absorbing the heavenly luck and transforming it into heavenly fate. Furthermore, after observing for this period of time, Li Fan discovered that the Xuanwang heavenly Tao of this world was not as full of hatred and vigilance towards cultivators as it was in later generations. The resistance to operating the false heavenly Tao, divine power, was almost negligible, with little risk. If it wasn't for the fact that he was just born and his body was too weak, Li Fan would have been able to directly break through to the golden core stage in one breath. Fortunately, the physique of demon beasts is indeed powerful. As long as there is sufficient food, growing up is also a matter of a blink of an eye. So Li Fan and Shu Ke quietly wandered in the mountain forest of the beast-taming sect, and directly snatched and devoured anything good they saw. The protective formations of those spiritual fields and precious medicines were simply crude and easily broken in Li Fan's eyes. Lord Zon Bird, are we eating a little too much? Li Fan was happy with his eating, but Shu Ke was frightened. In less than a month, the two of them had plundered all the high-value treasures in the mountain forest of the beast-taming sect. Now the sect has vaguely noticed something wrong and sent several elders to investigate. Fortunately, they haven't revealed any flaws for the time being. Even so, how could the young Shu Ke have ever done such a thing? He was worried all day long, but he didn't dare to stop Li Fan's behavior. Fool, isn't I doing this to save the Xuanwang realm? What is this little bit of supplies? The so-called merit is greater than following the dragon. After the salvation is successful, the beast-taming sect will be the greatest contributor. The rewards will be 10,000 times greater by then. Li Fan slapped Shu Ke with a claw. Is that so? Shu Ke was skeptical. Li Fan continued to lurk in the beast-taming sect, using its resources to strengthen himself. His strength advanced by leaps and bounds, and he was soon in sight of the nascent soul stage. During this period, a cultivator named Song Yang still wanted to secretly follow him because he coveted the heavenly fate's on bird. But Li Fan directly activated the heavenly fate divine power and changed his luck. His two-headed black snake spirit pet suddenly lost control and violently devoured Song Yang. Then the black snake was killed by the beast-taming sect disciples. The only threat disappeared. Time passed, and soon it was the day when Mr. Bai was about to be a guest at the beast-taming sect. Li Fan routinely pretended to be a ghost. I have a premonition that Mr. Bai is coming. That day, he suddenly transmitted his voice. What? Mr. Bai is coming to the beast-taming sect? Is he coming to see me and senior brother Lu Ya? Shu Ke suddenly raised his head, full of surprise. HMPH, little fellow is quite narcissistic. Mr. Bai is running around to save the world, but he doesn't have time to waste on you, kid. Li Fan ruthlessly dodged Dao. Okay. Shu Ke was discouraged when he heard the words. However, he quickly cheered up and stared at the sky, waiting for Mr. Bai to descend. Li Fan also narrowed his eyes. It's only been more than 2 months since the descent. Even if the strength increases no matter how fast, it is impossible to intervene in the next battle, or rather, it should be a massacre. So the key to breaking the situation should still be the next trip to the southern underworld sacred mountain. However, perhaps I can do something. Li Fan looked at Shu Ke under him, thoughtfully. As in the previous experience, half a day later, Mr. Bai arrived as promised. The beast-taming sect's guardian azure dragon sensed the aura of the uninvited guest, and instantly revealed its figure, blocking Mr. Bai's path. 1088. The truth of the misunderstanding. Is this the way the beast-taming sect treats its guests? Mr. Bai's pleasant voice echoed between heaven and earth. There wasn't a hint of anger, but it made the sect-protecting azure dragon feel a great threat, glaring fiercely. Out of its own defensive instinct, just as the azure dragon was about to attack, a figure suddenly rose from the ground at this critical moment. Ah! Accompanied by a miserable scream, it flew straight towards Mr. Bai. The solemn and tense atmosphere was instantly broken. Countless gazes in the world instantly focused on that small figure. It's Shu Ke. Mr. Bai smiled. Shu Ke scratched the back of his head, feeling uneasy. But he still asked shyly, as Li Fan had taught him, Mr. Bai, why are you here? Are you here to see me? Before Mr. Bai could answer, a blue light suddenly arrived from the horizon in an instant, blocking between him and Shu Ke. Brother Lu Ya. Shu Ke was very excited to see old acquaintances one after another. Mr. Bai looked at Lu Ya, whose face was full of vigilance, and a trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. Lu Ya, long time no see. Lu Ya said, what do you want? His tone was cold, full of vigilance. Mr. Bai didn't take it seriously, and said slowly, this trip is not malicious. I just came to find the beast-taming sect, there is something I need their help with. Lu Ya hesitated upon hearing this. At this moment, an old voice sounded. It is always a pleasure to have guests from afar. It is our beast-taming sect who has not been hospitable enough. An old man with white hair and white eyebrows appeared in an instant. Grand Elder. Luya was shocked. D. Sanmo nodded to show his response. Then he looked at Mr. Bai. Distinguished guest, please come with me. If there is anything the beast-taming sect can help with, we will definitely cooperate. This very polite attitude made Luya a little puzzled and unacceptable. However, he was still respectful to his teacher and valued the Tao, so he did not refute it in person. Then I will thank you in advance. Mr. Bai also put away the aura he was emitting. As the saying goes, one does not hit a smiling face. Following D. Sanmo, he disappeared. Hey, why did you leave? Shu Kei was a little annoyed for a while, because he originally thought that Mr. Bai would take him with him. I told you not to get too close to Mr. Bai. Why did you rush up as soon as you met him? Luya patted Shu Kei's head gently, admonishing him. He is not at all like how he usually acts in front of us. Luya looked at the distance of the beast-taming sect, his face gloomy. Brother Luya, why are you saying that? Mr. Bai is really a great person. Shu Kei said with some confusion, but very seriously. Luya sighed deeply, forget it, I won't hide it from you now that things have come to this. After Ningyuan City was razed to the ground, we were with Mr. Bai. Under his command, we called on the people to save themselves and helped transfer all the wounded to the small broken temple. But, that day, Luya fell into memories, his expression a little dazed. Suddenly, some of the wounded had their injuries erupt, and they were about to be unable to hold on. Mr. Bai happened to be away, and our level was not enough to save him. So we could only disperse and look for Mr. Bai in the city. Shu Kei also suddenly said at this time, yes, I remember, there was such a thing at that time. Not long after, Brother Luya, your attitude towards Mr. Bai completely changed. Why? Luya took a deep breath. At that time, I searched everywhere for Mr. Bai but couldn't find him. Suddenly, I remembered that when I was seriously ill, Mr. Bai took me to his home for treatment. I vaguely remembered that there seemed to be a basement in his house. I thought, could he be in the basement at this time? After some effort, I finally found the entrance to the basement near Mr. Bai's house. Just as I was about to call out to ask, I vaguely smelled a bloody smell coming from it. I thought that Mr. Bai was injured, so I didn't care about anything else and rushed in. But I saw. What did you see? Shu Kei was also firmly attracted by Luya's description. Corpses. A basement full of them, all fragmented corpses. And he was holding a sharp knife, dismembering the corpses and performing an evil ritual. Do you remember that Guzi used to have several brothers? They were all forcibly sewn with the bodies of dogs. Shu Kei nodded. At that time, they disappeared inexplicably. I asked Mr. Bai, and he said that he had not seen their traces either. But, Luya gritted his teeth and said, I clearly saw them among the corpses in the basement. This. Shu Kei's eyes widened, unable to believe all of this. Luya continued, the scene in that basement was like hell. Even now when I think about it, I still feel cold all over. Not only was the bloody smell so strong that it was shocking, but the ground was already stained black and red with blood. In the innermost part of the basement, there was an extremely strange faceless statue. Even if I only glanced at it at the time, it often appears repeatedly in my nightmares. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, you would never imagine how evil it was. He seemed very shocked by my sudden intrusion. I immediately reacted, fearing that he would kill me to silence me. Without saying a word, I scrambled and crawled out of the secret room. I fled back to the small temple like a madman, wanting to expose Mr. Bai's true colors. But he has always disguised himself too well. No one believed me. Luya sighed. If I continue to stay by his side, I will definitely be in danger of being harmed. I can only escape. Unfortunately, no matter what I said, only you were willing to escape with me. Fortunately, we met our master on the way, and we finally settled down in this beast-taming sect. But I didn't expect that he would be so persistent and follow us again. Shu Kei looked at Luya's frowning face, and felt very conflicted in his heart. Maybe, there is some misunderstanding. Shu Kei still tried to persuade him. Misunderstanding? What misunderstanding could there be? Luya snorted coldly. You have also seen him in person now. He can remain calm in the face of the sect-protecting Azure Dragon in the Tao integration realm. You can imagine how terrifying his current strength is. In such a short period of time, he has cultivated to this point. Apart from using the power of that evil sacrifice, I can't think of any other way to achieve it. Furthermore, Luya paused, I have also investigated that strange faceless statue. It is the evil god worshipped by the ancient evil sect, the Schwantian sect. The remnants of the Schwantian sect, we cultivators, everyone must kill them. Shukei didn't know what the Schwantian sect was. However, he knew the reason why Mr. Bai's cultivation was so fast. But when the words came to his lips, he suddenly remembered Li Fan's warning that, heaven's secrets must never be revealed, and he could only swallow them back. 1089. The power of the true immortal to split the world. Seeing Luya so convinced of his own conclusions, Shukei hesitated for a moment, then slowly said, I once heard someone say that sometimes, even what you see with your own eyes may not be the truth. And, to judge a person's character, don't look at what they say, but what they do. Although I don't know what the situation is in that basement, Mr. Bai has always been especially good to us. Without his help, we might have starved to death long ago. So, I always want to believe that Mr. Bai is indeed a very good person. Shukei spoke slowly, carefully organizing his words. It took him a long time to finish this rather formal speech. Luya smiled wryly and patted Shukei's head. You little rascal, you've read a few books and now you're lecturing me. And with such elaborate arguments. Don't worry, I'm not the kind of person who doesn't understand reason. I know what I'm doing. It's just, Luya seemed to see that strange, faceless statue again, and his heart couldn't help but feel heavier. After that, Luya chatted with Shukei for a while. After seemingly receiving a voice transmission from someone, he left in a hurry. Lord Zan now, how was my performance? At this time, Shukei mentally asked Li Fan for credit. Just average, you still need to work harder in the future, Li Fan replied very plainly, and Shukei immediately felt a little dejected. It seems that the power of the faceless true immortal in this era is much stronger than it was thousands of years later. Luya was only exposed to it once, and he was already tainted with its aura, caught in the true immortal's net, and it will be difficult for him to escape. As the Xuanwang agent of the faceless true immortal in the present world, probably no one in the world knows the nature of his power better than Li Fan. In the previous illusion, Li Fan wasn't qualified to notice it. But now, he could see at a glance that the most fundamental reason why Luya's attitude towards Mr. Bai had changed so drastically was the influence of the faceless true immortal statue. Living beings all have an instinctive fear of unknown powerful beings. Like a butterfly caught in a spiderweb, unable to break free, even though it hasn't seen the arrival of the predator, it already has a sense of its future fate and feels apprehensive. Luya is now in this state. It's just that he subconsciously linked the faceless true immortal statue with Mr. Bai. Rather than running away and staying away from Mr. Bai, it was more like trying to avoid the control of the faceless true immortal. It's a pity that, like Li Fan in reality, there is no ordinary way to break free. As for whether Mr. Bai is related to the faceless true immortal, Li Fan didn't see any aura of the faceless true immortal on Mr. Bai during their brief meeting. Of course, it's also possible that he was too strong and concealed it well. While he was thinking, Li Fan saw the still dejected Shukei and then ruffled his hair. Your mental fortitude still needs to be strengthened. You can't even handle this little setback, how will you follow me to save the world in the future? Lord Zan now, I'm not even 10 years old yet. Do I have to rely on myself to save the world? Shukei said with a bitter face. Who told you to be destined with me? Li Fan said earnestly. Alright, get ready. Next, the beast-controlling sect should have a mission for you, Li Fan predicted again. Having demonstrated his precognitive abilities many times, Shukei already had extreme faith in Li Fan. Sure enough, this time Li Fan's prediction was correct again. 3 days later, Luya brought Shukei to a small wooden house outside the beast-controlling sect's demon-suppressing pagoda. On the table in the wooden house were a wooden sculpture and a wooden box. This wooden sculpture is a gift that Mr. Bai left for you, Luya said with a complicated expression. Something seemed to have happened to him during these 3 days. His words were much more polite towards Mr. Bai, but Li Fan keenly felt that the influence of the faceless true immortal seemed to have intensified on him. Wow, Shukei didn't have the ability to realize this, and at this moment, he excitedly ran to the table and grabbed the wooden sculpture. Huh, this looks like me. Shukei looked it up and down carefully, and said with some surprise. Not caring what the wooden sculpture was used for, Shukei was very satisfied as long as it was a gift from Mr. Bai. He originally wanted to carefully put it away, But after hearing Li Fan's voice transmission, he hid it in his chest first. This wooden sculpture is a good thing, Li Fan stared intently, sensing the power of the law condensed on it. Mr. Bai's actions would naturally not be ordinary. This Shuke miniature wooden sculpture represents retaliation. As long as the attack does not exceed the upper limit that the wooden sculpture can withstand, it will be absorbed and then reflected back. It is quite similar to the supernatural power displayed by Shuofeng after comprehending the heavenly mystery of the wooden sword earlier. Even a full blow from a Hedao realm expert can be perfectly reflected by this wooden sculpture. Although the number of times is limited, it is definitely a life-saving weapon. Li Fan sighed at Mr. Bai's generosity while studying the principles of heaven and earth in the wooden sculpture. And as expected, Shuke received the task of going to the southern underworld Sacred Beast Mountain to deliver the red wooden box to Emperor One Beast. This wooden box contains the head of Emperor Tu Li. If nothing else, Mr. Bai personally beheaded him. Emperor Tu Li wandered outside, causing trouble and not returning to the demon race. Although Mr. Bai seems to have killed him, he actually returned him to Emperor One. Use this favor to exchange for the method by which demon beasts can devour the void and reproduce, to cultivate the Rift Realm whale. Li Fan went over the reasons for the matter. Mr. Bai is the embodiment of the heavenly Tao, but he still can't grasp the specific direction of the demon beast's evolution, so he has to go to Emperor One Beast. It seems that the demon beasts of the Xuanwang world may not be native products, but outsiders. Emperor One sensed that the great calamity of the Xuanwang world was approaching, and it seemed that there was no chance of escaping it unscathed. So he wanted to split the realm and leave. Li Fan saw the towering white mountain that seemed to be at the end of the world. Southern Underworld Mountain, according to Emperor One, is the edge of the sky, the corner of the sea, the end of the world. The countless free-floating energies of the Xuanwang world gather here. If they are detonated using some special method, they may instantly explode with extremely terrifying power, close to that of a true immortal, thereby crossing the high wall and leaving the dark star sea. In the present world thousands of years later, Southern Underworld Mountain has become a rift realm vortex. The world's wounds have not been repaired for thousands of years, which shows how terrifying the energy fluctuations were when Southern Underworld Mountain split the realm. The principle is the same as the Heavenly Sword sect's disintegration of divine weapons. It's just a simple theory. Whether they succeeded or failed, whether they successfully escaped the dark star sea, or whether they have turned into nothingness, no one knows. 1090. The only refuge. Whether it was the Heavenly Sword sect or the departed monster beast clan of Emperor One. In the future, the Xuanwang realm never heard any news about them again. In Li Fan's view, this was the least likely escape method he would consider. High walls isolate the inner and outer star seas. Once outside the high walls, he would probably lose contact with the Xuanwang realm completely. So, whether the escape was successful or not could not be verified at all. And under the massive energy fluctuations of realm splitting, once it failed, there might not even be a chance to return. Neither the main body nor the avatar could try the true feasibility of realm splitting. Therefore, Li Fan had always had little interest in this method. Leaving by realm splitting is undoubtedly a complete escape. The test of the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate cannot support this plan. If I were the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate, and such a group of people preparing to defect appeared in the world, what should I do? On the way to South Nether Mountain with Shuke, Li Fan thought carefully. The encounters along the way were similar to the previous illusions he had experienced. However, this time, with the White Master's wooden sculpture protecting him, he arrived very smoothly without any danger. Also, under the leadership of the human body differentiated from Emperor One, he visited the myriad monster assembly of the Monster Beast clan. The assembly ended with the cheers of the monster beasts, forever supporting Lord Emperor One. At this time, under Li Fan's reminder, Shuke handed over the wooden box containing Emperor Tu's Li. Emperor One's reaction and performance did not deviate. After saying a lot of obscure words, he split out a gray sphere and handed it to Shuke. You may leave. Emperor One then issued an eviction order. Wait a minute. At this time, Shuke suddenly spoke again. Emperor One Beast was a little surprised. But he still patiently waited for Shuke to finish speaking. Senior, how many of these monster beasts present do you think are truly willing to follow you away? Because of a nihilistic, currently unpredicted so-called calamity, they have to abandon this paradise of the Xuanwang realm. Emperor One's human body frowned. I don't need them to be sincere. I just need them to execute orders. If they really don't listen, I'll just swallow them all. Shuke smiled, looking like an old man. Just now, Senior said that in the infinite future, there are infinite possibilities. Then why are you so sure that this calamity will befall the Xuanwang realm and only escape can provide a glimmer of hope? Is there a future where the Xuanwang realm really survives and is the only safe place in all time and space? Aren't you going to do something for this glimmer of possibility? Shuke's eyes were full of wisdom, as if there was light, staring at Emperor One. These words were obviously not something Shuke of this age could say. And the silly bird sleeping soundly on his head. Obviously, it couldn't have been his idea either. So this is his intention. Emperor One naturally knew who had sent Shuke here. So he began to seriously consider the words just now. Seeing this, Shuke struck while the iron was hot. Since Emperor 3, the taper, was able to split from the monster beast group and choose to side with humans. Then today, it is natural to be able to split apart between leaving and stay in Xuanwang. This is actually unstoppable, but with your words, it seems more formal. Emperor One Beast glanced out the window, at the monster beasts with different expressions thoughtfully. Interesting. Then wait a moment before leaving. After saying this, Emperor One's human body slowly disappeared into thin air. Shuke and Li Fan looked at the meeting place that had not yet dispersed. Emperor One suddenly called out to more than 30 monster beasts, including Crimson Nine Heads. He didn't know what he said, but the monster beasts first showed fear, then disbelief, and then ecstasy. Li Fan only felt Emperor One's gaze from afar, and then quickly moved away. 7 days later, above South Nether Mountain. What, we have to listen to this little kid? Crimson Nine Heads, who had already transformed into a human form, looked at the tiny Shuke and immediately showed dissatisfaction. The team was mighty and vast. There were a total of more than 3,000 transformed monster beasts. At this moment, they were all filled with baleful aura, staring at Shuke with fierce eyes. Shuke swallowed, and finally nodded seriously under Li Fan's encouragement. Although Senior Emperor One agreed to your request to stay in the Xuanwang realm, the only condition is that you must obey my orders. Of course, I won't make any rude requests, but I'm just afraid that you will mess around in our human cultivators' territory, so you must be more restrained. As Shuke spoke, he took out a disc from his arms. As soon as the disc appeared, the many monster beasts who had been exuding fierce aura all became honest. At least it looked like it on the surface. Okay, you have the beast reincarnation wheel, you have the final say, Crimson Nine Heads said with a fake smile. But little kid, it's okay to listen to your orders. But there should be a time limit, right? We can't be your slaves for the rest of our lives, can we? Ha ha ha, I don't think you need to worry about that. This little kid can live for a few thousand years at most. Which of us monster beasts can't live for tens of thousands of years safely? We have to keep a close eye on this little kid. Don't let him die so early. ... Many people in the monster beast group booed. Shuke's face was tense, and he was not affected by them. After a while of making noise, seeing that Shuke was not irritated, the monster beasts stopped and continued on their way peacefully. In fact, the monster beast group following the migration was far more than the 3,000 that appeared on the surface. Each different monster beast basically brought their families with them, using cave heaven treasures to load the clans who were unwilling to escape the Xuanwang realm. And along the way, there were monster beasts who received the news and wanted to stay in the Xuanwang realm, constantly rushing to join them. When they were about to reach the beast control sect, the team had expanded to 10,000. Mighty and vast, monster aura crisscrossed. Like an army of monster beasts on an expedition. If it weren't for the beast reincarnation wheel bestowed by Emperor One Beast to suppress the aura, and the White Master's wooden sculpture occasionally mobilizing the power of the heavenly Tao to cover it up, I'm afraid it would be enough to cause panic among the cultivators passing by. Even so, when they finally reached the gate of the beast control sect, such a terrifying monster beast army still caused the beast control sect, who did not know the reason, to panic. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The tragic alarm instantly spread throughout the entire sect. Countless cultivators rushed from all parts of the mountain gate with their natal spirit beasts. So weak, so weak. I didn't expect that after our Azure Dragon lineage was raised by humans, it would be so weak. HMPH, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I really wouldn't believe that monster beasts would sincerely submit to humans. There are so many of us, why don't we? Shuke looked at the monster beast team, whose atmosphere instantly became subtly wrong, and couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. 1091. Unify the Beast Sect. Shuke gripped the beast wheel in his hand, not daring to relax his mind for a moment. After a long while, the restless demon beast ranks slowly calmed down. But it wasn't Shuke's achievement, but because Emperor Three Taper had appeared. Interestingly, during the Southern Underworld Mountain Sacred Beast Convention, when Emperor Three Taper was mentioned, these demon beasts all sneered and called him a traitor to the demon race, a beast that everyone could punish. But when Emperor Three Taper really showed up at this moment, the demon beasts present were all as silent as cicadas in winter, and not one dared to speak loudly. Shuke raised his doubts in his heart. Venerable's on now. How come I feel that, in the eyes of these fellows, Grandpa 3 seems even more terrifying than Emperor 1? Li Fan smiled. Emperor 1, as the Demon Beast Emperor, has to consider the entire Demon Beast group and reward and punish fairly. Under normal circumstances, as long as you don't anger him, there is no danger. But the Emperor Three Taper in front of us has already openly betrayed the demon beasts and joined the humans. The traitor of the demon race not only lives well, but even helped human cultivators create the beast-controlling sect. Guess, over the years, who has killed more demon beasts, Emperor 1 or Emperor Three Taper? Shuke fell into deep thought. Then, glancing at the kind-looking white-haired old man, he couldn't help but shudder. With Emperor Three Taper personally suppressing them, this demon beast team naturally became well-behaved on the surface. However, Emperor Three Taper did not overdo it, forcing these demon beasts to join the beast-controlling sect and suffer the enslavement of human cultivators. He simply circled a large piece of land within the territory of the beast-controlling sect for these demon beasts to temporarily inhabit. Although it was a little crowded, survival was not a problem. After listening to Shuke's account of what happened, Emperor Three Taper asked, "What was your reason for saying those words to Emperor 1? Shuke was prepared, and said calmly, "Senior Emperor 1 said that the Great Tribulation of the Zanhuang realm is approaching, so he plans to split the realm and leave. But he can escape, but we cannot. In order to cope with the tribulation, it is necessary to unite all objects that can be united. With the power of this demon beast team joining, at least the possibility of our beast-controlling sect surviving the tribulation will be much greater." Emperor Three Taper pondered in silence. These words didn't sound like something a child could come up with. However, Emperor Three Taper had lived for too long and would no longer use youth to measure a person's wisdom. After a moment of silence, he said faintly, "Since you brought this trouble, then leave it to you to handle it entirely. If any of these beasts cause trouble or break the rules of the sect in the future, I will hold you accountable." After saying that, Emperor Three Taper also tossed over a round plate. It was not much different from the one Emperor 1 had bestowed upon Shuke. It was just that the demon beast patterns carved on it were richer and more vivid. "This is the sect's treasure, the beast-controlling wheel." Shuke quickly recognized the treasure that Emperor Three Taper had given him, and subconsciously gripped it tightly. Before he could say anything more, Emperor Three Taper's figure had already disappeared. "This treasure, he just gave it to me so easily." Shuke looked blank, feeling incredibly unreal. Li Fan was secretly comparing the two different beast wheels. The demon beast patterns on the one Emperor 1 gave were limited to the types that followed Shuke's migration, but it had a stronger suppressive effect on the demon beasts. Even the strongest among them, Kai Jutu, who was comparable to a human cultivator in the longevity realm, had his life and death at the mercy of the beast wheel holder. This was determined by the characteristic that the demon beast race of the Zanhuang realm was derived from Emperor 1. As for Emperor Three Taper's beast-controlling wheel, it seemed to include all the demon beasts in the world except for the Emperor beasts. However, its ability to control demon beasts was relatively weaker. After all, wise men and prophets can only give specific suggestions and cannot decide the direction to take. I wonder if the memories of the cultivation techniques and divine abilities from this Zanhuang Grand Heavenly Venerate's trial illusion will be lost after coming out. If the technology of these two beast wheels can be absorbed and transformed, perhaps the Empire can really cultivate ancestral demon beasts. In the Empire's small world, there has always been such a guess. Exotic beasts are evolved from demon beasts, and all the demon beasts in the world have a common ancestor. Therefore, in fact, every exotic beast contains complete demon beast bloodline information. The making of the fusion beast that looked like Emperor 1 was based on this guess. However, there is too little information on ancient demon beasts, and it is impossible to carry out directional demon beast ancestral reversion experiments. Otherwise, recreating the situation of ancient demon beasts rampant may not be difficult. In any case, let's record them well first. The information contained in the two beast wheels is too vast, and even with Li Fan's current abilities, it is very difficult to fully grasp them. Moreover, it seems that because they are not native products of Zanhuang, the beast wheel information in this illusion seems to be somewhat lacking compared to the real objects. But it does not prevent Li Fan from always occupying the two beast wheels. Next, the plot of the change of the beast-controlling sect began to deviate from the past. Shu Ke no longer received the task of going to the Divine Brush sect to find the realm-splitting whale, but instead focused on dealing with the group of demon beasts within the sect. Uniting all the forces that can be united, should be the content to be tested in this second act. When a calamity descends, as the Zanhuang Grand Heavenly Venerate, one naturally needs to show a coordinating ability far beyond ordinary people. The forces within the Zanhuang realm are complex and harbor their own agendas. But after all, they belong to the human race. The contradictions and conflicts between them are certainly not as great as those between humans and demon beasts. At least, that is what needs to be shown on the surface. If the relationship between this demon beast and the beast-controlling sect can be handled well, it is likely that he will be able to pass this test. Don't always think about suppressing them with the beast wheel whenever you encounter difficulties. You have to subdue them with reason. If one day, the beast wheel fails, how will you cope? In ancient times, the Zanhuang realm had saintly emperors who, although unable to truss a chicken, were sincere in their words and treated people with sincerity. Everyone who spoke with them felt like they were bathed in a spring breeze. Everyone above and below respected and worshipped them. While studying the beast wheel, Li Fan also cultivated to increase his own strength. At the same time, he also guided Shu Ke on how to deal with and command the group of demon beasts. Compared with humans, demon beasts have fewer tricks and schemes. They even seem much simpler. Under the personal guidance of Grand Preceptor Li, Shu Ke only used the power of the beast wheel 3 times these years. In most cases, he only relied on words and actions to resolve various crises. Finally, he slowly gained the trust of all the demon beasts. In the end, the great tribulation of incompatible cultivation finally descended. Because everyone in the beast-controlling sect only cultivated one cultivation technique, they couldn't hold on for too long, and soon there were signs of collapse. It turned out to be such a terrifying calamity, incompatible cultivation. Shu Ke's face was a little unsightly. 1092, Sword Test Mr. Bai. However, the experiences of these years had matured his mind, and he quickly calmed down. He methodically directed the demon beasts under his command to suppress and subdue those out-of-control beast control sect disciples. Ha ha ha, I've disliked them for a long time. This is finally an opportunity to take revenge openly. It's time to stretch our muscles. These years, being cooped up in this small mountain, I'm about to get sick. Brothers, put some effort into it. Let's avoid being looked down upon. ... In an instant, the beast control sect's dormant tens of thousands of demon beasts surged forth like dragons rising from the sea, covering the entire territory like dark clouds. The terrifying demon wind and killing intent even temporarily suppressed the threat of the great calamity. Not good, those demon beasts have rebelled. I said it long ago, those not of our race are sure to have different hearts. Without subduing them with the beast control true art, disaster is sure to follow. The sect leader is hateful for not listening to me. My life is over. Under the calamity where different laws cannot be cultivated together, the beast control sect, which was already struggling to protect itself, was naturally no match for these demon beasts that had been conserving their strength for many years. It only took 3 days to be completely suppressed. Although the attacks might have been a little heavy-handed in the process, with Shu Ke present, the demon beasts did not harm any human cultivators' lives. Boss, what should we do next? Kaiju 2 asked with a serious expression. The calamity of different laws not being able to be cultivated together naturally also had some impact on the demon beast population. The inherited cultivation methods in each race often only consisted of one. However, the demon beast race had a strict hierarchy. For the time being, they could still stabilize the situation. I didn't expect that Lord De's prediction would actually come true. If I had known this earlier, I should have left with him back then, Yu Zanhuang sighed. At present, there are only 2 options. First, defy the principle of different laws not being able to be cultivated together. Second, if we cannot do that, then we can only adapt to the changes in the world, Shu Ke replied calmly and unhurriedly. Since different laws cannot be cultivated together, then let's each cultivate different laws. Our beast control sect doesn't have enough cultivation methods. Then let's borrow some from the surrounding sects, Shuke said with a stern expression. The surrounding demon beasts were stunned at first, not understanding what this meant. But soon, they reacted and were overjoyed. After all, plundering was the nature of demon beasts. Lord Zan now, is this really the right thing to do? Shuke's heart was not as resolute as it appeared on the surface. He was still somewhat conflicted and unable to let go. Do not be so soft-hearted. With the great calamity descending, I fear that only 1 out of 10 Xuanwang cultivators will survive. Now that you are nominally the leader of the beast control sect, you are naturally responsible for their survival. It's better for others to die than for us to die. Li Fan's tone was full of coldness. Dead silence. After a long time, Shuke finally made up his mind. I understand. He raised his head, his eyes full of determination. Half a day later, under Shuke's instructions, the demon beast army swept across the surrounding area with overwhelming force. Destroying sects and collecting resources and cultivation methods. Bypassing those powerful sects, only picking on the weak. Striving for quick victories. Tens of thousands of demon beasts, united as one. In the current situation where the calamity of different laws not being able to be cultivated together has erupted, they are definitely an unstoppable force. In just half a month, they had destroyed hundreds of sects, large and small. If it were in the past, this beastly disaster would have long attracted the attention of the Immortal Tao 10 sects and faced the joint encirclement and suppression of countless human cultivators. But now, the Immortal Tao 10 sects were all preoccupied with their own survival. How could they have the time to care about the affairs of other sects? All the cultivation methods plundered by the demon beasts were uniformly handed over to Shuke. Seeing that the number collected was about right, Shuke immediately ordered a stop. After decisively beheading dozens of demon beasts who had gone mad with killing and disobeyed orders, Shuke immediately issued the order to retreat. Are we going to escape too? Retreat? Retreat to where? The beast control sect cultivators, including all the demon beasts, were somewhat puzzled. After Shuke explained, everyone suddenly understood. It turned out that Shuke had been prepared for a rainy day. As early as when he returned from the southern underworld Sacred Beast Mountain, he had already sent people to inquire about hidden small worlds where they could settle down. The calamity in the Xuanwang world will probably last for thousands of years. If we want to preserve ourselves, we can only temporarily retreat into a small world and slowly plan for our revival, Shuke sighed. These days, everyone had seen the tragic situation of sects fighting each other outside. In comparison, the death rate of the beast control sect was simply pitifully low. And this was all thanks to Shuke's foresight. I originally thought that after Lord D. San Mo's mysterious disappearance, our future was uncertain. I didn't expect Boss to be so insightful, even on par with Lord D. San Mo. Nonsense, if it weren't for that, would D. San Mo and DE have easily handed over the beast transformation wheel to Boss? I said long ago, following Boss means there's meat to eat. Shuke's actions finally made everyone completely convinced and eliminated any dissent. Then, under Shuke's command, they quickly migrated as a whole towards an unknown small world. Before leaving the Xuanwang world, Shuke and Li Fan took one last look at this world. One day, we will return. Then their figures slowly disappeared from the world. At the same time, the picture of the fallen immortal realm also began to freeze. The surroundings also suddenly turned pitch black from the light. I wonder if this counts as passing the test of the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Lord. Li Fan was actually not confident. However, coordinating the harmonious coexistence of human and demon beast populations. Taking any means necessary to maintain the survival of the group when calamity strikes. These were already the most perfect methods that Li Fan could think of at present. If he hadn't had several previous experiences, even if Li Fan thought about it again, he probably wouldn't have been able to come up with this method in a short period of time. The test illusion seemed to be evaluating Li Fan's actions. The waiting time required was even longer than in the first scene. Fortunately, strands of white light suddenly appeared from the darkness. After a dizzying spin, a new scene was generated again. Li Fan successfully passed the test and arrived at the third scene, the Heavenly Sword Sect's sword forging. What needs to be tested this time? Li Fan had not experienced the Heavenly Sword Sect's sword forging scene many times. So he didn't actually have complete confidence. However, in those years in the Beast Control sect, Li Fan had also made sufficient preparations. He had been silently following the established plot, reasonably playing the role he was attached to. Until the cultivator disguised by Mr. Bai came to challenge. None of the Heavenly Sword Sect disciples were Mr. Bai's match. Just as everyone was shocked and fearful, Li Fan raised his head and walked out. I am willing to learn from Mr. S expertise. Li Fan cupped his hands. Please, Mr., take a look at my swordsmanship. Li Fan said loudly, casually breaking off a branch from a nearby tree. It was exactly the same as what Mr. Bai had done before. This action caused a great uproar among the Heavenly Sword Sect disciples. And for the first time, Mr. Bai's eyes revealed a look of interest. 1093, the Sword of Life will win. Who is that? Just a golden core cultivator, yet he dares to be so arrogant. Didn't he see Senior Brother Hua, a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, defeated in one move just now? Inner sect disciple Ji Zhaoxuan, usually silent and inconspicuous, who would have thought he would stand up at this time? Good, as expected of a disciple of my Heavenly Sword Sect, even knowing he's no match, he still dares to draw his sword. For this alone, he's already a leader among the inner sect disciples. The watching Heavenly Sword Sect disciples discussed amongst themselves, some with disdain, some with admiration, and some with worship. Li Fan, however, turned a deaf ear to the surrounding voices, his eyes fixed on Mr. Bai. Sir, your strength is definitely far superior to mine. But if we only talk about the understanding of the Sword Dao, I'm afraid you may not be stronger than me. Li Fan was full of confidence, but Mr. Bai smiled slightly and did not retort. So for today's competition, we will only compare whose Sword Dao is superior, not whose strength is higher. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was stunned. Is he asking the other party to maintain his cultivation at the Golden Core realm and then compete? Can you even do that? Bah, shameless. I think it's acceptable. After all, this guest's cultivation is unfathomable. If he really goes all out, I'm afraid only the eldest senior brother can defeat him. Faced with Li Fan's somewhat rude request, Mr. Bai didn't mind. He nodded and said with a smile, don't worry, I never bully the weak. With that, the unfathomable aura originally emanating from him instantly calmed down, becoming the same as Ji Zhaoxuan, whom Li Fan possessed, only with late-stage golden core cultivation. Li Fan cupped his hands, his expression solemn. In that case, take my sword. Before the words, take my sword, could be uttered, Li Fan had already made his move. When the onlookers heard Li Fan's roar, a giant sword phantom had already descended between heaven and earth. Descending from the sky, the tip of the sword pointed directly at the top of Mr. Bai's head. Around the giant sword, countless different divine swords seemed to be inserted. And the giant sword was like the Emperor of Swords, attracting countless sword energies to crisscross, with light intertwined and reflected. On the scene, all the watching Heavenly Sword Sect disciples couldn't control their natal swords at the moment the giant sword appeared. They flew out one after another, floating in the air, their sword bodies humming slightly, as if paying homage. Not only that, even the entire Heavenly Sword Sect was shaking slightly. As if something was awakening deep within the Heavenly Sword Sect. This earth-shattering scene naturally attracted the attention of all the cultivators in the Heavenly Sword Sect in an instant. Countless figures rushed over, and the arrival of a drunken cultivator holding a wine gourd caused everyone present to exclaim in unison, its eldest senior brother. Eldest senior brother is here. At this moment, Situ Yao of the Heavenly Sword Sect was not as cynical as usual, his expression solemn as he stared at Li Fan and Mr. Bai, who were competing. And the changes outside the arena didn't seem to affect the two of them at all. At the moment when the giant sword phantom appeared with 10,000 swords, a trace of astonishment flashed in Mr. Bai's eyes. Because he noticed that the wooden sword in his hand suddenly became much lighter. It was as if the sword Dao condensed on the wooden sword had been instantly transferred to the other party. Using falsehood to deceive the heavenly Dao, coupled with my understanding of the heaven's wonder of the wooden sword, I can unexpectedly seize control of the Xuanwang sword Dao in an instant. But Mr. Bai is, after all, the incarnation of the Xuanwang heavenly Dao. This method of deceiving the heavenly Dao can only be used once. So there is only one chance. Li Fan's heart was unprecedentedly calm. Under his control, the giant sword changed from illusory to solid, and the surrounding 10,000 swords also manifested one after another. Like a torrential rain, it suddenly appeared. Countless sharp swords tore through space, forming a terrifying storm, sweeping and raging towards the surroundings. The faces of all the onlookers changed, and they retreated one after another. But still, many nascent soul and even transformation god cultivators were blown away by this sudden storm of 10,000 swords, unable to control their bodies. Not to mention those disciples with even lower cultivation levels. What a joke, is this something a golden core cultivator can unleash? Could it be that Ji Zhaoshuan has been hiding his cultivation all along? Monster, I'm fortunate enough to witness two monsters dueling today. The raging sword energy obscured the vision of most people. But the integration Dao and even the powerhouses above the integration Dao were still staring intently at the center of the storm. They were somewhat horrified to see that, faced with this world-destroying killing move, Mr. Bai didn't dodge or evade, allowing the countless sharp swords to bombard him. But what was strange was that these swords didn't cause any harm to Mr. Bai. Instead, they disappeared silently like a stone sinking into the sea or snow falling into water. Only the wooden sword in Mr. Bai's hand seemed to have become alive again. The storm of 10,000 swords was endless, and there was no sign of it subsiding for a while. But Li Fan had quietly disappeared into the storm. Mr. Bai had no intention of fighting back, he just stood quietly in the center of the storm. Xuanwang's sword, I didn't expect that there would be someone in the world who could master it to such an extent. Amazing. Mr. Bai praised sincerely. It's a pity, relying on these alone, you can't defeat me. Mr. Bai's words echoed in the storm of 10,000 swords. His gaze flickered, wanting to lock onto Li Fan's position. But at this moment, Li Fan had already transformed into a sword, merging into the myriad sword Daos. Even though Mr. Bai was the incarnation of the heavenly Dao, he couldn't find Li Fan for a while. The roar of 10,000 swords finally ushered in the most violent moment before it was about to subside. At the moment when countless sword lights bloomed together, an ordinary-looking wooden sword was hidden among them. It quietly flew towards Mr. Bai, going forward fearlessly, full of determination. At first, it was just like an ordinary sword Dao. But as the wooden sword's speed increased, its momentum became even stronger. Like a raging fire spreading across the sky, or like a meteor illuminating the darkness. In comparison, all the other sharp swords in the storm seemed dim and dull. This is, at this moment, Situ Yao, who was watching the battle, and the elders of the Heavenly Sword Sect, all showed shock and regret. Because this was the strongest sword unleashed by igniting one's own life. It was also the last sword. The sword of life. Mr. Bai naturally saw through the details of this sword. He couldn't help but hesitate. It was just a competition, there was really no need to risk the life of the young man opposite for the sake of victory or defeat. Moreover, the other party's understanding of the sword Dao was indeed rare in the world. Not weaker than himself. In this critical moment, the more talented people there are, the better it is for the Xuanwang realm. It would be a pity to die in vain like this. In a flash of thought, Mr. Bai had already made a decision. I concede. At the moment the words were spoken, he lifted his cultivation restriction. Using the power of the longevity realm, he forcibly reversed the process of Li Fan burning his life. But, Li Fan had no intention of stopping at all. Even though he had already lost his sword momentum, his speed did not decrease. In the end, the wooden sword in his hand still gently pierced Mr. Bai's body. 1094. The trace of the ancient immortal weapon. The so-called arrow at the end of its flight cannot pierce even the thinnest silk. Under the pressure of the eternal life realm, Li Fan's sword probably couldn't even hurt an ordinary mortal. Let alone cause any harm to Mr. Bai. However, even though it didn't leave a single white mark, this sword, after all, pierced Mr. Bai. Because Li Fan disregarded his own life. Because of Mr. Bai's cherishment of talent and pity. As the saying goes, a gentleman can be deceived with righteousness. This sword was the answer Li Fan had pondered during these years in the second act of the fallen immortal realm. The first act tested benevolence. The second act tested wisdom. And this third act should be testing martial prowess. Mr. Bai suppressed the heavenly sword sect with his sword. If he could be defeated, or rather, gain his approval in the duel, he would likely pass the third act's test. And Li Fan has now done it. I concede. Although the process of burning his life was reversed by Mr. Bai, using that sword of life still greatly damaged Li Fan's vitality. At this moment, his face was pale, as if he would die at any moment. He coughed incessantly and cupped his fist towards Mr. Bai. Mr. Bai looked at Li Fan with a somewhat complicated expression. Why? He asked. Li Fan said lightly, I am not like you. You always consider too much. As for me, I use any means to achieve my goals. Even if it means giving up my own life. The surrounding scenery of the Heavenly Sword sect had gradually faded. Only Mr. Bai's figure remained clear. Li Fan continued, "So what you can do, I may not be able to do. But what you can't do, I may be able to do." Like a tongue twister, but Mr. Bai already understood Li Fan's meaning. Sometimes, to survive, you have to be ruthless. After saying these words, Li Fan's body also slowly became transparent. In the end, he completely disappeared. Only Mr. Bai remained in this space-time. His brow was furrowed, as if he had encountered an extremely difficult choice. After an unknown amount of time, he suddenly smiled. "That's right, I always have too many concerns. Perhaps, like him, only then can I ultimately fight for a chance of survival." Mr. Bai's figure, along with his voice, gradually fell silent. In the darkness, Li Fan didn't know how long he had waited. A familiar dizzying sensation came, and the scene in front of him instantly became bright again. Looking around, he did not return to the real world, but came to a new environment. My guess was indeed correct. Although it's a bit disgraceful, I finally defeated Mr. Bai and passed the test of martial prowess. Don't ask about the process, only prove the result. Li Fan felt a little happy in his heart. Now let me see, what will the test of this fourth act be? With this thought, countless pieces of information instantly poured out from Li Fan's mind. His expression suddenly froze. How could it be? With Li Fan's composure, he was still a little lost at the moment. He quickly cast the water mirror technique, and then looked at himself in the mirror. The flawless and peerless face made people feel like they were bathed in a spring breeze, and respect arose spontaneously. Li Fan was too familiar with this face. He had even just competed with him not long ago. It was Mr. Bai. This fourth act, I actually directly possessed Mr. Bai's body. Li Fan was shocked in his heart. There was joy, and there was vigilance. What was joyful was that by borrowing Mr. Bai's body, he could get a head start in experiencing the profound yellow heavenly venerate. In the future, no matter which aspect of cultivation he was in, he would definitely benefit greatly. What was vigilant was that the previous incident of Mr. Bai's rebirth through possession would be staged again. After a moment, Li Fan calmed down and began to sort out the information in his mind. Unfortunately, because it was only a test, the memories of Mr. Bai in his mind were not complete. There were only fragmented pieces, as well as the main quest, involved in this test. At this moment, I have passed the recognition of the Heavenly Tao and officially become the profound yellow great heavenly venerate. The mission objective is, find the immortal artifacts left in various places in the profound yellow realm and escape the profound yellow realm. Li Fan's expression suddenly became extremely strange. Completely contrary to what he knew about Mr. Bai's behavior, Li Fan confirmed it again and again. That's not right. This is not a test of the fallen immortal realm. But this point in time, the mission that Mr. Bai is shouldering. After a while, Li Fan suddenly realized. After becoming the profound yellow great heavenly venerate, the urging of the profound yellow realm's heavenly Tao consciousness faintly emerged in Mr. Bai's heart. The catastrophe was coming, and it was inevitable. It would be better to abandon the world's body and leave as soon as possible. The profound yellow realm is no longer a good place, with evil monsters causing trouble inside and the immortal ruins eyeing it covetously outside. It would be better to cross the immortal wall and reopen the heavens and earth outside. Li Fan frowned and slowly pieced together the fragmented memory information. The immortal wall is difficult to cross. Even the profound yellow great heavenly venerate is unable to do it. However, before the immortal path was severed, the upper realm occasionally bestowed immortal artifacts. At this time, some of these immortal artifacts are still sealed in the treasure houses of the sects, while others are buried deep underground, unknown to anyone. But they all cannot escape the control of the profound yellow realm's heavenly Tao consciousness. Just gather these immortal artifacts, use them as sacrifices, and even without completely destroying them, it will be enough to unleash the power to cross the immortal wall. Li Fan's face instantly showed an expression that was completely inconsistent with the temperament of the body. Immortal artifacts. At least no less than 10 immortal artifacts. According to the information transmitted by the profound heavenly Tao consciousness, each of these immortal artifacts has a power no weaker than the heavenly profound mirror. If I can collect them all and use them for my own purposes. Li Fan's heart suddenly surged with thoughts. You must know that in all these reincarnations, apart from the heavenly profound mirror and the fishing pond, he has not seen the traces of other immortal artifacts. Now, as if being hit by a big gift bag, he suddenly learned the information of more than a dozen immortal artifacts. How could it not make his heart agitated? Wait, these immortal artifacts all disappeared in the true history. However, Li Fan quickly reacted. He suddenly remembered an ancient anecdote he had collected before. When the Great Calamity came, because the laws could not be practiced at the same time, the various sects were already in chaos. And the inexplicable loss of immortal artifacts collected within the sects further accelerated the demise of the immortal cultivation sects. Could it be that these inexplicably missing immortal artifacts were all quietly taken away by Mr. Bai at that time? Li Fan's expression was a little strange. He began to investigate the information about these immortal artifacts in his mind again. These immortal artifacts were all passed down from the upper realm when the immortal path was not severed. At that time, the great sects of the profound yellow realm were not the later 10 immortal sects, but had already disappeared into the long river of history. Such as the reincarnation sect, the desolate god sect, etc. And the immortal artifacts they held were also divided up by the 10 immortal sects. However, immortal artifacts have spirits, and non-direct descendants of the sect cannot use them. Therefore, even if the 10 immortal sects snatched most of the immortal artifacts, they could not use them at all. Brothers, don't give me monthly tickets this month. I feel ashamed to be lazy this month. Please vote for Wheel of Destiny. 1095, The Secret Library of Tianshu Sect. With the greedy nature of the cultivators in the Xuanwang realm, even if they couldn't use immortal artifacts, they would never give them away willingly. Instead, they would seal them in the deepest part of the sect's treasure vault, under strict guard, hoping that one day they would be able to awaken the power of these immortal artifacts. Let's see where the nearest immortal artifact is. The Wild God Seal, in the Celestial Pivot Sect. The Wild God Seal was the treasure of the Wild God Sect, which had already been destroyed. The controller of the seal could communicate with the immortal realm and summon the ancient wild gods to appear. In the Xuanwang realm's heavenly Tao memory inherited by Mr. Bai, Li Fan saw the terrifying scene of the wild god's descent. In the huge vortex in the sky, a golden eyeball suddenly appeared. Under the gaze of the wild god, the land of the Xuanwang realm cracked inch by inch, and then turned into nothingness. It had the same feeling as an immortal from the immortal ruins destroying the world with a single glance. The wild god sect once summoned 12 different wild gods, exterminating countless hostile sects and dominating the ancient Xuanwang realm. It was a pity that fewer and fewer wild gods responded later, and eventually there was no response at all. Without the wild god's descent as a deterrent, the wild god sect was quickly besieged by its enemies and suffered a tragic extermination. As for the Celestial Pivot Sect, it was one of the top 10 immortal sects in the past. However, there was very little information left to posterity. Li Fan only knew roughly that this sect was the immortal sect closest to the celestial capital Grand Master. The disciples in the sect mostly regarded themselves as true inheritors of the immortal path, and were extremely arrogant. After roughly understanding the relevant information, Li Fan, who was now the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate, moved his mind and instantly arrived at the Celestial Pivot Sect's main area, the Celestial Pivot Courtyard. He actually crossed hundreds of thousands of miles in the blink of an eye, and directly arrived at the most core and secret area, ignoring the various formations and restrictions of the Celestial Pivot Sect. Is this the power of the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate? Li Fan looked at his hands, feeling a surge of emotions. He felt that the spiritual power in his body was almost endless, and even if he used any supernatural power, it would not diminish in the slightest. Moreover, when the supernatural power was specifically manifested in the Xuanwang realm, it would be naturally amplified to the limit that the world could reach. Any spells in the world, as long as they originated from the Xuanwang realm, could be broken with a single glance and could not pose any threat to him. My control over this world is even better than my control over the spirit wood realm. After all, one is active cooperation, and the other is forced coercion. While sighing slightly, Li Fan slowly familiarized himself with the authority of the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate. Then, he strolled through the Celestial Pivot Courtyard and walked towards a shrine-like building in the depths of the center. It was shrouded in a strange energy, which was the only, blind spot, in the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate's vision in the entire Celestial Pivot Sect. The Celestial Pivot Sect cultivators guarding the shrine could not see Li Fan's existence at all. Even if Li Fan walked in front of them, it was the same. In front of the shrine, Li Fan's footsteps paused slightly. He sensed a somewhat familiar power. It was not that Mr. Bai's body was familiar, but that Li Fan himself felt familiar. The celestial capital Grand Master. A sense of instinctive disgust suddenly arose in his heart. Like the disgusting feeling of finding a few cockroaches in the kitchen at home, Li Fan frowned instantly. But soon, he calmed his mind. His figure was like water, penetrating the invisible shield, and he arrived inside the shrine. Inside the shrine, there were two statues, one large and one small. The large statue had its eyes closed and lowered slightly, with a solemn expression. The small statue was a child, standing respectfully behind him. This large statue is the figure in the celestial capital who preaches on his own. However, according to the information I collected earlier, it is very likely that the child standing behind the figure is the real celestial capital Grand Master. Li Fan's gaze could not help but fall on the child statue. In a daze, he seemed to travel through countless spaces and arrived in a magnificent city floating in the sky. His mind was shocked, and the illusion disappeared. Looking at the child statue again, he actually felt a slight stinging in his eyes. Humph! Li Fan snorted coldly, suppressing the urge to smash the statue to pieces. He searched around for the hidden treasure vault. Without much effort, he found a hidden restriction behind the two statues. After breaking the restriction, Li Fan was able to enter the Celestial Pivot Sect's treasure vault. Contrary to the scene of being filled with dazzling treasures in his imagination, the Celestial Pivot Sect's treasure vault could even be said to be a bit simple, so much so that Li Fan almost suspected that he had gone to the wrong place. On a purple-red long table, there were a stone seal, a wooden box, and a scroll. Besides that, there was nothing else. That stone seal was naturally Li Fan's target this time, the immortal artifact Wild God Seal. Even though it was still in a sealed state, Li Fan could still faintly feel a palpitating ancient aura from it. And the wooden box and scroll next to it were enough to illustrate their extraordinary nature by being placed together with the immortal artifact Wild God Seal. If it were Mr. Bai, he would naturally only take the Wild God Seal and leave quickly. But how could Li Fan ever return empty-handed from a treasure mountain? Even if this place was the fallen immortal illusion realm and he couldn't bring the treasures back to the real world, it would be good to broaden his horizons and feast his eyes. Li Fan first carefully examined the wooden box. He keenly noticed that there seemed to be a living creature imprisoned in the wooden box. It was vibrating slightly and constantly at an extremely small frequency and amplitude. Each vibration inadvertently emitted an aura that made Li Fan, who was now the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate, feel a little dangerous. What was even more strange was that the creature in the wooden box seemed to have sensed Li Fan's existence outside as well. The vibration became more urgent. It seemed to be tempting and urging Li Fan to open the wooden box. Faint rustling sounds faintly appeared in his ears, and many illusions also appeared in front of his eyes. Li Fan pondered for a long time, and finally forcibly suppressed the impulse in his mind with great willpower. It was only at this moment that Li Fan realized that the Xuanwang Immortal Heart Mantra, which would automatically operate as long as he awakened his self-awareness in the fallen immortal illusion realm, had unknowingly become ineffective. Without the blessing of the Immortal Heart Mantra, resisting temptation all depended on Li Fan's own willpower. Fortunately, he had reincarnated for many lifetimes, was knowledgeable and experienced, and had an extraordinary mind. Otherwise, he might not be able to control himself and open the wooden box on the spot. Li Fan forcibly shifted his gaze to the scroll. The auditory and visual hallucinations brought about by the wooden box instantly diminished. This wooden box is a bit evil. I don't know if it still exists in the Xuanwang realm today. In stark contrast to the strangeness of the wooden box, the scroll emitted an aura of absolute sacredness and orthodox immortal path. Not only was there no warning, but he also involuntarily developed a sense of intimacy. It seems like I've seen this scroll somewhere before. Li Fan checked Mr. Bai's incomplete memory. Fortunately, he was lucky, and a somewhat blurred picture instantly flashed in his mind. 1096. The Edict of the Immortal World. A fissure spanned the sky of the Xuanwang realm. Countless rays of sacred golden light shot out from the fissure, painting the entire world with a golden hue. Heavenly flowers rained down, and auspicious clouds filled the sky. A somewhat blurred figure rose from the earth, slowly flying towards the fissure. The figure's outline emanated a dazzling, seven-colored light. As it ascended into the fissure, a misty rain also began to fall from within, trickling down, nourishing all things. Nourished by the immortal spiritual rain, the entire Xuanwang realm underwent an almost visible transformation in an instant. The world became more vibrant and full of vitality. The creatures on the earth, irrigated by the immortal spiritual rain, became more intelligent and talented. Countless joyous consciousnesses spread throughout the heavens and earth. Even the world itself felt it. This is ascension. An ancient word, never forgotten by cultivators, instantly appeared in Li Fan's mind. The era when the path to immortality was not yet severed was too long ago. So much so that now, one can only glimpse the grand scene of the ancient cultivation world between the lines of ancient texts. But now, Li Fan was fortunate enough to witness the ascension of a Xuanwang realm cultivator. His mind trembled, deeply captivated. So, a cultivator's ascension brings unimaginable benefits to the entire world. The more cultivators ascend, the stronger the foundation of their cultivation world becomes. It seems that many cultivators have ascended from the Xuanwang realm in the past. No wonder. The anomaly of the cultivator's ascension lasted for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. The fissure in the sky slowly closed, and the golden light gradually disappeared. And at the very last moment, a scroll floated down from it. Unfurling in the wind, it revealed itself in the sky. Xuanwang realm. After 865 years of cultivation, achieving creation and ascending to immortality. This immortal edict is hereby issued to commend this achievement. The path to immortality is arduous, but the spark endures. May those who follow strive for it. The words on the scroll were blurry, especially the name of the ascending cultivator, which was already missing. But it roughly depicted the past life of the cultivator who ascended to immortality, as well as the immortal realm's words of encouragement to the cultivators of the lower realm, Xuanwang. This scroll is the immortal scroll edict passed down by the immortal realm back then. Li Fan stared intently at the seemingly ordinary scroll, his heart surging. However, this form of the immortal scroll edict seems a bit familiar. It's almost identical to the phenomena after a cultivator's death now. So it wasn't the heavenly Tao's spur-of-the-moment idea, but rather an early prototype. It's just that one is an upper realm's commendation, while the other is the Xuanwang heavenly Tao mocking cultivators. Li Fan shook his head slightly. However, judging from the wording of this immortal scroll edict, the immortal realm is extremely welcoming and even encouraging of cultivators ascending. The immortal spiritual rain that falls during ascension may be a kind of reward. And at some point, something suddenly happened in the immortal realm. Not only was the path to immortality severed, but even the true immortals had to scatter and flee. Li Fan couldn't help but narrow his eyes. After a long while, he retracted his thoughts. Looking again at the immortal scroll edict before him. To take it or not to take it? A difficult problem immediately presented itself to Li Fan. Even if I fail, I can start over in the next life. Just to see the immortal scroll edict in person, it's worth the trip. Without hesitating for too long, Li Fan reached out his hand, mobilizing infinite divine power to break the restrictions covering the two treasures in an instant. However, when he wanted to subdue them, a little trouble arose. The Desolate God token and the Immortal Scroll Edict were both items from the immortal realm. Not ordinary objects that could be easily obtained. With Li Fan's current strength as a Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate, taking only one of them would be very stable and would not alarm the cultivators of the Celestial Pivot sect. But if he wanted to forcibly take both at the same time, it would be a bit difficult, and it would inevitably cause a lot of commotion. The first to notice the anomaly was the third item in the secret vault, the wooden box. Seemingly sensing that the two neighbors who had accompanied it for so long had actually escaped, the unknown existence sealed within the wooden box immediately became restless. Emitting hurried, slight sounds. Countless illusions came one after another, constantly appearing before Li Fan's eyes. Li Fan's actions to collect the two treasures couldn't help but pause slightly. "How dare you, you little brat!" An angry shout then rang out like a thunderclap. Then, 5 powerful aura of the eternal life realm suddenly appeared, locking onto Li Fan from afar, and rushing towards the secret vault at high speed. This is a bit troublesome. Li Fan felt a little helpless in his heart. But after a moment, he still completed the collection of the scroll and the Desolate God seal. Looking at the 5 eternal life cultivators who had already rushed into the celestial pivot courtyard, he shook his head slightly. Then, his figure disappeared in full view. After several consecutive teleports, from the celestial pivot sect all the way to the southwestern frontier of the Xuanwang realm, he finally got rid of the pursuit of the 5 eternal life cultivators from the celestial pivot courtyard. It wasn't that Li Fan wasn't a match for these eternal life cultivators, but fighting with these cultivators was meaningless. Li Fan looked at the 2 treasures he had plundered. The desolate god seal was put aside for the time being, and Li Fan first slowly unfurled the immortal scroll edict. What a pity! After seeing the contents of the scroll clearly, Li Fan sighed. It turned out that this scroll was exactly the same as the Xuanwang realm heavenly Tao's memory. Incomplete and blurry, it exceeds the upper limit that the Xuanwang heavenly venerate can trace back to. In that case, this desolate god seal is also just a mere appearance and cannot truly reflect the power of an immortal artifact. Li Fan immediately felt bored. Well, it's not easy to know so much information about immortal artifacts all at once. The Celestial Pivot Sect's treasure vault was stolen, such a shameful thing. They will definitely not take the initiative to publicize it, but will only conduct a private investigation. It will probably take some time for the other sects of the Immortal Tao 10 sects to know about this. I have to hurry up. Li Fan's figure flickered and came to the next hiding place of the immortal artifact. This time, with the previous lesson, Li Fan no longer entangled with the other treasures in the treasure vault. Just a quick battle and quick resolution, stealing the immortal artifacts one by one. In the end, it only took 3 days to successfully collect all the immortal artifacts in the Xuanwang Heavenly Tao's memory. It can be said that there was not a single bit of difficulty. As long as it was a normal cultivator, they could easily do it after possessing Bai Xian Sheng. Strange, then what exactly does this test to become the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate test? Li Fan looked at the 13 immortal artifacts of various shapes in front of him, and couldn't help but fall into deep thought. At the same time, under the constant urging of the Xuanwang Realm Heavenly Tao in his mind, Li Fan also received the next stage of the main quest. Xuanwang Power, detonate the immortal artifacts. Immortal power added to the body, leap over the immortal wall, and from then on be carefree. Feeling the expectation and joy in his heart, Li Fan couldn't help but breathe a little faster. 1097. The Void Outside Xuanwang. Although the Xuanwang realm is much stronger than ordinary cultivation realms, it may not be able to withstand the violent immortal spiritual power that spreads around when an immortal artifact is detonated. Moreover, if it is detonated within the Xuanwang realm, it will inevitably attract the attention of those old monsters hidden within. After calming down from his excitement, Li Fan quickly realized this. So, you have to go outside the realm. Li Fan subconsciously looked up at the sky. And the Xuanwang Heavenly Tao consciousness that was constantly urging in his mind seemed to confirm his thoughts. However, what Li Fan was a little doubtful about was that, so far, he had not seen where the difficulty of this Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate test lay. Compared with the previous 3 acts, this 4th act, which is very likely to be the final test, seems to have no difficulties so far. As long as everything is done step by step, anyone can reach Li Fan's current progress. Next, crossing the void and detonating the immortal artifact away from the Xuanwang realm, presumably with the blessing of the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate's body, should not be too difficult. As for detonating the immortal artifact and obtaining the power to transcend the immortal wall, if you really choose to leave, you will probably lose the qualification to become the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate. Only by choosing to stay in the Xuanwang realm, like Mr. Bai in history, and defying the will of the Xuanwang Heavenly Tao, can you truly inherit and become the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Venerate. But, is it really that simple? This is the fallen immortal illusion. Even if you choose to detonate the immortal artifact and cross the high wall, so what? Outside the high wall is a forbidden area that even the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerate's power has never set foot in, a completely unknown existence. It can basically be concluded that the fallen immortal realm cannot evolve outside the high wall, just like in the Immortal Scroll Edict. After returning to the real world, you are still in Xuanwang. Anyone with a normal mind would not choose to leave the Xuanwang realm, right? Then what is the meaning of this test? Li Fan quietly flew out of the Xuanwang realm with various questions. Compared to thousands of years later, the attraction of the immortal ruins was not so strong at this time. With Mr. Bai's strength far exceeding ordinary longevity, resisting the immortal ruins and crossing the void was indeed not a particularly difficult task. Flying rapidly in the void, the image of the Xuanwang realm behind him became smaller and smaller. Finally, it was completely submerged in darkness. The surroundings were completely dark. Only the pulling force from the immortal ruins reminded Li Fan that all of this was not his illusion. This is the Dark Star Sea. Thorough loneliness and coldness gradually surged into his heart. Looking around, there was not the slightest difference. No matter how fast Li Fan flew, the surrounding scenery did not change at all. This also led Li Fan to almost doubt whether he was flying or turning around in place. Without a beacon and a void longitude and latitude positioning device, it is really unrealistic to fly across the starry sky with just the physical body. Li Fan silently calculated the time in his heart. After flying at full speed for 3 full days, feeling that the distance was far enough, Li Fan finally stopped. In the endless darkness, only Li Fan existed. He took out all 13 immortal artifacts that he had collected. Although he was far away from the Xuanwang realm at this moment, and had lost the support of the world itself, his strength had declined. But simply destroying and detonating the immortal artifacts was still barely possible. The spiritual power in his body surged wildly, and he took the lead in pouring it into the desolate god seal. It was like a heavy hammer, slamming down on it. Boom, boom, boom. Violent energy erupted in the void, but it was swallowed by the endless darkness before it could spread far. It did not stir up the slightest ripple. Under Li Fan's unremitting efforts, cracks appeared on the already not very solid surface of the desolate god seal. Strands of immortal spiritual power flowed out from it. Li Fan's spirit was shaken, and he quickly guided it into his body. It was distinct from his own spiritual power and could not be absorbed. However, with the blessing of these powers, Li Fan also clearly felt the changes happening to his body. The most direct point was, the entire dark star sea seemed to be a little brighter. His vision seemed to gradually adapt to the darkness. He could see the small dot representing the Xuanwang realm far behind him. Is this the harbinger of crossing the immortal wall? Even in the fallen immortal illusion, Li Fan's heart was a little inexplicably excited. He immediately went all out and increased his output. Soon, he completely destroyed the desolate god seal. After completely absorbing the immortal spiritual power contained within, Li Fan began to wield the spiritual power hammer towards the second immortal artifact. The immortal artifact was called Great Sun Golden Bell. After Li Fan lifted the restriction on it, the Great Sun Golden Bell instantly emitted a scorching, dazzling light, as if it were the sun in the sky. It illuminated a large area of the surrounding dark starry sky. Fortunately, there was no terrifying scene of some giant, terrifying creature in the darkness staring at Li Fan. Under the illumination of the light, Li Fan found that the surroundings were indeed just a void. Li Fan followed the same method and began to destroy the Great Sun Golden Bell. A resentful cry echoed in Li Fan's ears, lingering for a long time. Li Fan turned a deaf ear and did not hesitate in the slightest. As the Great Sun Golden Bell disappeared from this world, the immortal spiritual power in Li Fan's body became even stronger. Next was the third immortal artifact, Yin Yang Hook Sword. After destroying 9 of the 13 in total. With the extremely excited reaction of the Xuanwang Heavenly Tao in his mind, Li Fan knew that it was enough. At this time, the starry sea was no longer pitch black in his eyes. Instead, it presented a bizarre appearance with various colors constantly changing. The colors that appeared and disappeared suddenly like auroras were all distorted towards the direction of the immortal ruins. While visually entering a brand new world, the body also felt much lighter. It was like floating on the surface of the water. As long as you borrowed a little strength and jumped up, you could leave the water. Immersed in this unprecedented novel experience, Li Fan sighed slightly after a long time. It's a pity, everything is fake. To complete the task, it's time to go back. As soon as he made this choice in his heart, the surrounding pictures instantly froze. Then Li Fan keenly realized that although it looked like nothing had changed, something different seemed to have happened. Could it be that this is considered completing the Xuanwang Heavenly Venerates test? This is too easy. Wait, no. Li Fan's gaze instantly turned towards the remaining 4 immortal artifacts. Among them, there was actually the Great Sun Golden Bell that he had clearly destroyed before. What's the situation? Li Fan narrowed his eyes, wanting to retrieve the 4 immortal artifacts. But he was stunned to find that they were just phantoms. Could it be? A conjecture that made him a little unbelievable could not help but float into Li Fan's heart. I've already returned to reality. 1098. Now jumping over the high wall. That's impossible. The vast immortal spiritual power gathered within me is definitely not an illusion. Thoughts racing, Li Fan quickly used the water mirror technique to examine himself. He discovered that, just as he had guessed, his face was no longer that of Mr. Bai, but his own. Li Fan felt a sense of horror in his heart. How could this be? The immortal spiritual power gained from destroying immortal artifacts in the fallen immortal realm actually manifested in reality. Just as he was feeling somewhat lost, the face of Mr. Bai suddenly flashed in his mind, like a bolt of lightning splitting through the fog. Li Fan stood there, stunned. So that's how it is. That's right, although everything Li Fan had just experienced in the fallen immortal realm was fake. In real history, Mr. Bai had indeed collected and destroyed many immortal artifacts, thereby obtaining the power to cross the high wall. Mr. Bai ultimately did not choose to leave the Xuanwang world. So, a gleam of light suddenly appeared in Li Fan's eyes. His heart also began to beat wildly. That vast immortal spiritual power from back then was perfectly preserved. It was stored in the fallen immortal realm. In this final trial seen to become the Xuanwang Grand Heavenly Lord. Quote, Li Fan felt the immense power surrounding his body. At this moment, he understood. He had to make the same choice that Mr. Bai had made back then. To inherit this immortal spiritual power, cross the high wall, and be free from then on. Or choose to give up, stay in the Xuanwang world, and become the Xuanwang Grand Heavenly Lord. Although he didn't know why Mr. Bai had made the choice to stay back then. Li Fan wasn't as noble as Mr. Bai. If he had the opportunity to leave, why would he choose to be bound by the Xuanwang world? Almost without hesitation, Li Fan was about to make the decision to inherit the immortal spiritual power. But at the last moment, he suddenly changed his mind. Beyond the high wall, beyond the high wall. Is it really safe beyond the high wall? A big question mark couldn't help but emerge in Li Fan's heart. His current body's strength was only comparable to an ordinary nascent soul realm cultivator who had achieved harmony. In the Xuanwang world, with the help of the spirit wood realm and Tianyang and others, he could barely protect himself. But out of Xuanwang, beyond the high wall, the degree of danger was probably far greater than when he had come to the Xuanwang world as immortal. It should be known that there were true immortals beyond the high wall. The power fluctuations that erupted the moment he crossed the high wall were very likely to attract their attention. Especially in this life, Li Fan was still in the net of faceless true immortals. No matter how much a nascent soul realm cultivator struggled, he might not be able to attract the attention of a true immortal. But if a mote of dust in the nascent soul realm instantly transformed into an immortal, at that time, Li Fan probably wouldn't even have time to react before being captured and taken away for research by the faceless true immortals. Li Fan pondered for a long time, and finally let out a long sigh. He completely suppressed his restless desires. The opportunity for transcendence that he had painstakingly sought for hundreds of reincarnations was now before Li Fan. But when there was a real chance to escape, Li Fan retreated. Ultimately, it was because Li Fan's current strength was still too weak. And he knew absolutely nothing about what lay beyond the high wall. It wasn't that he couldn't leave now, but that the risk of leaving was too great. So great, in fact, that even Li Fan, who possessed still true, didn't dare to try it easily. Wait a little longer, wait a little longer. It's not time yet. For others, once they missed this opportunity to leave the Dark Star Sea, they would never have it again. But I'm different. Anyway, I already know of the existence of this vast immortal spiritual power. As long as I need it, I can come and take it at any time. After some rational analysis, Li Fan's state of mind finally returned to a calm, unperturbed state. Now that he had temporarily abandoned his plan to cross the high wall, there was another question before Li Fan. Did he need to inherit the position of Xuanwang Grand Heavenly Lord? Almost without thinking, Li Fan made a decisive choice. If the Xuanwang Grand Heavenly Lord could still act arbitrarily in ancient times. The times had changed now. The benefits might not be much, but the obligations and responsibilities he would have to bear were visibly enormous. Correcting chaos, dealing with the transmitters, restoring the normal order of the Xuanwang world. Saving the Xuanwang world from the fate of being swallowed by the immortal ruins. Li Fan had no interest in being any kind of savior. He also had no real sense of belonging to the Xuanwang world. Now that he had found a way to cross the high wall, what he had to do next was to increase his strength as soon as possible, or plan and try to see if this method was really effective and without danger. As for this Xuanwang Grand Heavenly Lord, whoever wanted to be it could be it. He, Li Fan, would definitely not join in the fun. Since this trial was created by Mr. Bai, Li Fan believed that he would not force cultivators to make a choice. Sure enough, when Li Fan expressed in his heart that he gave up on both choices. After a long period of silence, the surrounding scenery began to shake violently. Like boiling water, it shattered with a bang. After a slight dizziness, Li Fan finally returned to reality. It seems to have a bit of a temper. Li Fan muttered in his heart. Recalling his experience in the fallen immortal realm, it was a pity that, as before, he only had vague memories. Anything involving specific divine abilities and secret techniques could not be recalled at all. If I become the Xuanwang Grand Heavenly Lord, perhaps I will inherit the history in the fallen immortal realm. But it's not worth the loss. Especially in this life where I have already fallen into the net of true immortals. Li Fan calmed his thoughts. After a long time, he looked at the time. He was stunned to find that this trip to the fallen immortal realm had lasted for more than a year. It seemed that the time-flow ratio of this trial illusion was different from that of ordinary fallen immortal illusions. It was closer to reality. Li Fan had a faint understanding in his heart. This trial illusion was not created casually. It may require a certain amount of energy. Although Mo Rubin entered the trial illusion more than a year earlier than me, I have already experienced it in advance and am familiar with the plot. His actions may not be as fast as mine. It is possible that he is still in the illusion. Thinking this way, Li Fan began to check what had happened in the past year. When Transmitter Zhou was unable to contact Li Fan for a long time, he guessed that Li Fan had successfully entered the illusion trial. He sent multiple messages intermittently, besides asking Li Fan to reveal some of the scenes he had experienced after leaving the illusion. The rest were about the many things related to the remnants of the Xuantian sect. Although Transmitter Chen and others had passed the Transmitter Oath, everyone knew that they were no longer suitable to be in the highest management of the Myriad Immortal Alliance. After a re-vote by the Transmitters, they finally compromised and voluntarily left. 1099, 1,000 years later, Shu Ke. However, to Li Fan's surprise, these individuals who had successfully passed the oath of the Dharma transmitter, though no longer in charge of the administration, did not leave the core of the Myriad Immortals Alliance's power. Instead, they were granted the power of supervision, serving as a supplement to the Dharma Transmitter Council. It seemed that Zhang had realized the problems within the Dharma transmitters through this incident. If not restrained, problems would surely arise again in the future. I wonder if Mo Rubin will eventually pass the test of the Xuanwang Heavenly Lord. It wouldn't hurt to reveal the specific content of this trial illusion to the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Since they have already mastered the method of entering it, with the resources of the Myriad Immortals Alliance, they will find candidates qualified to enter the illusion sooner or later. Thinking this, Li Fan transmitted the general situation of the first scene of the illusion. Ning Yuan takes the longevity fruit to the Dharma transmitter Zhou. However, he did not say that he had successfully passed the test. Instead, he fabricated the most likely development route of the plot when he first entered. When taking the longevity fruit, he was seriously injured by Steward Song. Although he barely managed to save his life under the protection of senior brother Zhang, he fell into a coma and was in a daze all day long. Until one night, he was inexplicably possessed and lost consciousness. Soon after, Dharma transmitter Zhou solemnly replied, "The information provided by the Taoist friend is very crucial. It will greatly help us in exploring the illusion next." To express his gratitude, Dharma transmitter Zhou also presented Li Fan with a vacant position as a senior elder of the Myriad Immortals Alliance on behalf of the Dharma Transmitter Council. It did not have any real power, but he could enter and exit the Immortal Alliance headquarters at any time, and the level of authority was only slightly lower than that of the Dharma transmitters. However, Taoist friend cannot hold this so-called senior elder position. After all, in the eyes of other uninformed Dharma transmitters, you have been executed by Zhang for false accusations, Dharma transmitter Zhou reminded again. This so-called senior elder was clearly intended to win over the 10,000 Realms Association behind Li Fan. In this Xuantian sect possession incident, the 10,000 Realms Association had demonstrated sufficient strength. They even possessed many secrets that the Myriad Immortals Alliance could not know. Using a vacant position to deepen the cooperative relationship between the two sides was definitely worthwhile. However, the Myriad Immortals Alliance probably never imagined that the so-called 10,000 Realms Association was just Li Fan's one-man show. During the year or so that Li Fan was in seclusion, everything within the association was in good order, continuing to develop steadily according to the established tone, and reporting to Li Fan regularly. After reading all these messages one by one, the one that attracted Li Fan's attention the most was the one reported by the Empire. The location of the small world where Shu Ke was located had finally been determined. A weathered old man, carrying a coffin on his back. Exactly the same as Li Fan had seen before. Although the imperial daughter was very excited to find her ancestor, she did not let it go to her head and disobey Li Fan's order to meet Shu Ke without authorization. Then let me meet him. I am still very interested in Mr. Bai's backup plan. Qing Wei Zhou. Li Fan went straight to the target location. Although transforming into 7-colored divine light is already very fast, it is still far from the Xuanwang Heavenly Lord's ability to arrive with a single thought. In the trial illusion, although he only temporarily borrowed Mr. Bai's body. However, when Li Fan returned to reality, the huge contrast still made him feel a little lost. He even felt a faint sense of regret in his heart. The moment this emotion arose, Li Fan's heart trembled. He immediately activated the Xuanwang Immortal Heart Mantra, wanting to eliminate it. But the method that had always worked in the past, actually failed at this moment. HMPH. There is nothing in this Xuanwang realm that is worth me regretting. Even immortal artifacts that transcend the mundane, I can discard like worn-out shoes. A mere Xuanwang Heavenly Lord, you want to disturb my mind. As soon as he thought about returning to reality, all these things that had been lost could be regained. In an instant, those few discordant little emotions in Li Fan's heart disappeared. The Xuanwang Immortal Heart Mantra is the reason why I was different from other cultivators from the very beginning when I entered the fallen immortal realm. As early as when it was still the Xuanwang Heart Refining Mantra, it probably became a special identifier for the fallen immortal realm to recognize me. Involving the Xuanwang Heavenly Lord, it actually went on strike directly. It seems that things of unknown origin cannot be absolutely trusted after all. Everything still has to rely on oneself. A trace of gloom flashed in Li Fan's eyes. Xuanwang Heart Refining Mantra. Li Fan had never had the idea of sharing this method with others before this. But at this moment, this unexpected accident reminded him. Passing it on to a suitable person, pushing him to inherit the Xuanwang Great Heavenly Lord, or inheriting the immortal spirit qi and bravely breaking through the high wall, are all good ideas. Faces flashed quickly before Li Fan's eyes. While thinking about suitable candidates, Li Fan also arrived at Shu Ke's hiding place. This place seems to be like Jushan Prefecture, transformed from the remains of a certain demon beast. At the entrance of the small world, Li Fan keenly noticed some familiar aura. In the trial illusion, he had lived with a group of demon beasts day and night for more than 10 years, and had already formed an instinct. Although he had returned to reality, he could still recognize the remaining demon beast aura here. This is the growth of knowledge. In just an instant, he cracked the formation restriction at the entrance of the small world. Li Fan quietly entered it. The Empire's information was very accurate. This small world was a desolate desert landscape. As far as the eye could see, it was a hazy gray. Not far away, a towering stone mountain that seemed to connect heaven and earth was probably the only meaning of this small world. Li Fan was attracted to it at a glance. Shu Ke was at the very top of this stone mountain. Li Fan tried to fly up, but was somewhat stunned to find that he could not fly. This was not due to Li Fan's strength, but due to the special rules and restrictions of this small world. It was not impossible to forcibly fly, but he had to be prepared to face the backlash of the small world's heavenly Tao. Li Fan didn't want to make the atmosphere so stiff from the start. So he looked up, his gaze passed through the obstruction of thousands of miles, and fell directly on Shu Ke at the top of the mountain. The white-haired old man also felt something at this moment and turned his gaze. The eyes of the two met. In the next moment, Li Fan stepped down. He did not fly, but directly tore through space and appeared beside Shu Ke. His expression was natural, leaving only two spatial rifts that had not dissipated for a long time at the starting point and the ending point. Fellow Taoist Shu Ke. Li Fan went straight to the point and directly stated the white-haired old man's identity. Shu Ke was not surprised at all by Li Fan's sudden appearance. Instead, he directly asked, "Did you recognize me in the fallen immortal realm?" Li Fan's eyes narrowed upon hearing this. His trick of gaining the upper hand, which had never failed, had actually failed this time. 1100. The master wants to save the world. After a moment of contemplation, Li Fan decided not to continue being cryptic and nodded, saying, "Indeed. How did you figure it out, fellow Taoist?" Shu Ke chuckled softly in his slightly deep voice. "Someone who is an enemy of the world, where else in the profound yellow world besides the fallen immortal realm would my information exist?" Li Fan was slightly taken aback. An enemy of the world? What does that mean? Now it was Shu Ke's turn to be puzzled. "Don't you know what I'm sitting on?" Li Fan frankly shook his head. "Then why did you come looking for me?" Shu Ke stared intently at Li Fan, his expression inscrutable. I seek out fellow Taoists, firstly to help the younger generation of the empire and fulfill their lifelong wish. Secondly, it is to understand the various schemes left behind by Mr. Bai back then. After learning about his actions, I was deeply moved by his righteousness. However, I was troubled by the incomplete information I obtained in the fallen immortal realm, which was mostly fragmented memories from different periods. Therefore, I went to great lengths to find the place where fellow Taoist is hiding, wanting you to help me clear up my doubts. Li Fan cupped his fist and said sincerely. Seemingly hearing Li Fan's attitude towards Mr. Bai, Shu Kei's expression softened a lot. The Empire. His eyes narrowed, as if lost in memories. It is the Tao lineage that fellow Taoist left behind in the world where the red nine-headed creature fell, Li Fan reminded him. Ah, Shu Kei then remembered. Little Qing, Little Hong. He revealed a look of reminiscence. Both are still alive and well. However, that heavenly fate blackbird has fallen in the search for fellow Taoists' whereabouts, Li Fan said, handing over an item. It was the last blackbird feather that Little Black had left in the beast seed world. Shu Kei took the black feather, his hands trembling slightly. A trace of sorrow flashed in his eyes, and after a long time, he slowly said, I am sorry to it. This thing, may I have it? Shu Kei asked. It's just returning something to its original owner. If Little Black knew that the blackbird feather it left behind could eventually return to fellow Taoist's side, it could rest in peace, Li Fan sighed. Thank you. Shu Kei solemnly kept the blackbird feather in his bosom. Above the towering stone mountain, an absolute silence fell once again. At the top of this desolate world, it seemed that even the wind did not exist. Only the eternal silence that has been passed down from ancient times. Li Fan was not in a hurry, but accompanied Shu Kei through this heavenly desolation, patiently waiting. After a long time, Shu Kei finally spoke again. Due to the effect of the previous combination of words, his attitude towards Li Fan was now very different. How much do you currently know? Shu Kei asked. Back then, you and Little Black went to the southern underworld Sacred Beast Mountain, which was actually a mission entrusted by Mr. Bai to the beast-taming sect. Including the following series of actions, it was to ultimately cultivate the rifting whale that could infinitely multiply and open up the void. This was so that the mortals of the various small worlds who were forced to migrate due to the birth of the immortal mortal taint could stay as far away from the profound yellow world as possible. And the so-called immortal mortal taint was also a product of Mr. Bai's reversal of reason. He, as the grand heavenly lord of the profound yellow world, ultimately ended his life because of it. Li Fan slowly recounted the conclusions he had pieced together and deduced from the fallen immortal realm and the real world, word by word. You really know a lot. You put your heart into it. In this world, how many people still remember Mr. Bai? Shu Kei actually bowed to Li Fan to express his respect. But I have many doubts and things I cannot let go of, and I ask fellow Taoists to clear them up for me. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to eat or sleep peacefully in the future, Li Fan said solemnly. Mr. Bai, as the grand heavenly lord of the profound yellow world, had already reached the strongest level in the profound yellow world at that time. Why did he choose to sacrifice himself and use the immortal mortal taint as a means to protect mortals? Do you think the immortal mortal taint is useful? If the immortal mortal taint had never been born in the profound yellow world from the beginning to the end, how would history have developed? Shu Kei asked in return. Li Fan pondered for a moment, then slowly said, without the immortal mortal taint, the calamity that laws cannot be cultivated together would still exist. In the end, cultivators would still fall into a desperate situation of mutual suspicion and slaughter. In this process, when the city gate catches fire, the fish in the moat are also affected. In the wasteland of cultivation, how can there be a place for mortals to live? 1 in 10,000 is a lucky thing. Being infected by the immortal mortal taint and then forced to migrate to a small world. Although many people will die in this process, compared to the ending that would be encountered in the profound yellow world, it is almost negligible, Shu Kei said, helping Li Fan. Li Fan nodded slowly, expressing his agreement. So, Mr. Bai foresaw the fate of the profound yellow world for the next few thousand years at the beginning of the great calamity. Li Fan asked again. This is not a difficult task for Mr. Bai, Shu Kei said as a matter of course. If that's the case, Li Fan's tone and expression suddenly changed. The calamity of laws that cannot be cultivated together was caused by the heavenly lord of law transmission spreading new laws. As long as this culprit is beheaded, it may not be impossible to set things right. Why did Mr. Bai choose to retreat without a fight? He doesn't even care about his own life, but he doesn't have the courage to fight the Heavenly Lord of Law Transmission. There seemed to be a strong resentment in Li Fan's voice. Ahead, the road to immortality cannot be taken, the Heavenly Lord of Law Transmission is above. After a moment of silence, Shu Kei sighed slightly and said this sentence that Mr. Bai had once said. Then he explained, let's not talk about whether Mr. Bai was already a match for the Heavenly Lord of Law Transmission who had successfully reversed reason at that time. In fact, in Mr. Bai's deduction, even if the law transmitter was killed, it would not be able to prevent the arrival of the great calamity in the profound yellow world. Ningyuan City, the underground secret room, that beast seed monster that combines man and dog, have you ever seen it? I've seen it. That beast seed, the body of a human, the limbs of a dog. Mr. Bai once tried to save their lives. He collected suitable human limbs, wanting to remove their dog limbs and reattach human limbs. However, because the dog's limbs had already become one with their bodies in their daily lives, Mr. Bai's multiple attempts all failed without exception. Most of them died directly during the transfer surgery. And even those that looked successful often did not live for more than a month. They all died miserably because of the crazy loss of vitality. No matter how hard Mr. Bai tried, the result remained the same. Shu Kei explained very calmly. Li Fan slowly began to understand. Are you saying that the profound yellow world is facing the same situation? Shu Kei sighed, what's done is done. The changes that the law transmitter has made to the profound yellow world have already occurred. The effort required to reverse it is probably 10 or 100 times more.